to see if he was barefoot. Is that still the case? Is he barefoot? Because I know on Facebook somebody posted a picture of these could be his shoes, or is that so he is presumed to be barefoot at this point?
What I can say is that his mom says all of his shoes are accounted for at the house. I'm not going to say that he's barefoot.
All right.
Allegedly!
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. Here's a brief disclaimer for tonight's show. Let's watch.
That's ignorant! Allegedly, that's ignorant! Ignorant.
Judgment, Alfred.
Oi, you read my thoughts. You've got the shinin.
You mean shining?
Shh, you wanna get sued?
Judgment, Alfred.
You just use that shin of yours to call me and I'll come a-running. But don't be reading my mind between 4 and 5. That's Willie's time.
Hey, yo, boss. I love it when he does that.
Let's watch.
Don't get me back to good bullshit.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative, and it's so good to see all of you guys today. Thank you so much for hitting the like button. I saw little Miss Sharon, Town Chat Cafe, Detroit Rock City. I saw Show Poodles and Michelle Pacework. So good to see all of you guys. Also Linda Hall, Mimima, thank you so much for being here. We're gonna find a Mimima. I really believe that. I really do believe that we're gonna find Sebastian. And Shadow, so good to see you. Holly S, good to see you. And also Kai Kai, good to see you. Hello. So glad to see all of you guys. And happy Saturday. Oh, yeah, bring him home to his dad. Yeah. And you know, Sebastian, I know that Chris and Katie like to have said that Sebastian didn't have very many friends, but I think he had more friends than they knew about. Hey, Chuchi, good to see you. Hey, Town Chat Cafe. So yeah, and Town Chat Cafe brought up a good question today in the email, and I know I'm kind of behind on emails and stuff like that, but I went and looked, and we'll get a little bit more into it later about Sebastian's case, but rightfully so. There's a lot of people that think, did Sebastian even get to the house that day after the Texas Roadhouse race? Did he make it home from the Texas Roadhouse? We physically see him get into the vehicle with his mother, Katie. She allegedly put something in her ears. It appears to be some earbuds. I'm not 100% sure what they are, right? So I'm not going to speculate too hard, other than, I wear earbuds myself, and I'm sure a lot of you guys do too. And when we put them in, we just, kind of jam them in our ear hole and go about our business. And that's what she looked like she did. She, put the earbuds in her ear, and whether it was definitely one, if not two, because we can see her profile, and we can see one of her ears, and she makes the same motion to the other ear. So Mimima said, nope, he did not make it home. He did not make it home. Yeah. A lot of people think that, right? I mean, because it would make sense, just because we don't know if he took the trash out or not. If that video of whoever took the trash out was bit more visible, right? Or maybe if we could take a look at it and make up our own minds about it, but we can't even do that. Holly S says that she's 50-50. Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of like that too, 50-50. I mean, I wouldn't have been if it wasn't for me thinking that there's something really weird that's going on at the Texas Roadhouse, right? Because you guys know how I feel about that. It's very weird that the Yellow Jacket guy appears to have a picture of Sebastian on his phone. And this is, the conclusion to the video that I slowed down a bit, right? But at first you can only make out his shirt. Let me change it over to Sebastian, because it doesn't matter to me which order we talk about the cases. I wanted to make it a correction, because I believe there is a correction to be made in terms of the stepfather to Jayden Spicer. And so, I have a couple of clips from Bullhorn Betty, and I was like, wow, I think she's got a point here. And then I watched it again when I was editing, and I'm like, oh yeah, definitely. And I did share it. So I share a lot of videos that I think are good on my community posts. So if there's ever like a time where you guys don't know what to watch, or you'd like a recommendation, I always put those up there. And lately I've been sharing out people's lives that I enjoy, right? Or that I'm in the chat, or, what have you. So always look out over there, because I try to share good stuff all the time. Now, this really reminds me of Gypsy Rose Blanchard's case. For the longest time, we thought this Dan Glidewell guy was someone completely different than who he was, right? And so even though people that sleuth work really hard at it, we all get things wrong from time to time, right? So we all kind of thought that, Joshua Gross was the stepdad. It seems like he's like a brother instead. So there's that. And I just kind of want to bring it to you guys, because, we were talking about the case, and, I texted Mom, and then I'm like, oh, I'll be darned, look at this, So, but they have the same last name, and they look a lot alike. I mean, that's why I made the thumbnail too. And who's to say that guy is Joshua Spicer? Joshua Spicer, Joshua Gross. We just don't know. But there's divorce paperwork to the contrary, and I'll show that to you in a video that I made. Hey, Bless, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Happy Saturday. Plus, I heard she lets him out before going into the garage, and she didn't that night, allegedly. Oh, I remember that, Holly S. Okay, so switching gears right over to Sebastian's case. So, yes, I heard that, Holly S., that typically Katie would allow for Sebastian to get out of the vehicle before they would go into the garage. Sometimes, it just depends. Even if they have a large garage, there might be things that, like, once you get in, only one person can get out, right? So she may have let Sebastian out, and then, but that's what the neighbors allege, that typically she would do that, but that night she didn't, allegedly. And I remember that being said. And I think that's really, really interesting because, I mean, here's the thing. Anything that's out of the ordinary or out of the norm is something to look at, right? Especially when we think that, very, very often we hear of a child going to bed and then they vanish. Well, I'm here to tell you, Sebastian did not vanish. Anybody that tells you that is a fool. It's literally impossible for a person to vanish, right? Our physical bodies remain. So when I hear somebody say that Sebastian vanished, that makes me think that they, are saying that he's not with us anymore. He passed away, right? His spirit has vanished. But a physical body sticks around. And that should worry whoever hurt Sebastian, in my opinion. Yeah, Felicia, that story is so sad. Yeah, it is. It is, Mimi Ma. It is. And, it's just so much like Sebastian Rogers' case. And I'm so glad to hear people like Jake Hoff that would go on a public platform like Court TV or any of those and then, compare the case. Because this is exactly what this mother alleged. She also says, I love my son and please help me find him. But she knows the whole entire time where he's at. And in my opinion, that goes for Katie too. That goes for Katie too. In my opinion, she knows where Sebastian is. In my opinion, she was the last one with Sebastian. And we're going to hear Bullhorn Betty break this down for us in a little bit here on these videos when it comes to Jayden Spicer's case, because it appears that maybe she was the only one in the house that night. But we have this other adult, because the real stepdad is actually in jail, allegedly. And he's been in jail, I believe it's since 2022. Yeah. Husband in jail since 2022, Tommy Daniel Lee Gross, right? So we got Josh Gross. I don't know if he's, just allowing for her to live there with him and that's his brother's wife or what. It's pretty confusing. But if anything, she was there, Hey, Kiki. She was there, and yeah. So that just leaves her and the children. Now she coached the children into a story, right? Hey, Peggy, good to see you. She's coaching the kids into the story. Now, Katie doesn't have anybody there. And I just always want you guys to remember that the lights video has a person going back to the house. So there's no way in hell that anybody is ever going to make me believe that one of those light sources was Sebastian, unless Katie was bringing him out to somebody else, right? That's the only time I'm going to believe that, because who was it that came back to the house? Who was the only person left in the house? I mean, like a little child could figure that out. You know what I'm saying? And we forget these things because there's so much in this case. And in my opinion, Chris and Katie Proudfoot have been the ones to create the circus, right? They made it to where all of these odd characters are introduced and involved, and they're local, and they're not anybody that I would want in a missing child's case or covering it, because they're very unsavory people and characters, honestly. No one acts like this in real life or you wouldn't get anywhere. And if you do act like that in real life, there's not going to be many people that are going to want to, I mean, it's like you can't take them anywhere kind of a person. I'm sure all of us know who those people are. you know, can't take them anywhere because they don't have any manners, right? Because many of us grew up with manners. There's times when we go out of our character. I understand that. But in a missing child's case, there's no room for that. And honestly, when the America's Most Wanted doesn't show the whole entire video of the flashlight video and doesn't show someone else going back to the house, of course everyone's going to think that Sebastian left on his own. I'd like to know who gave him the lights video and strategically took that out. Or did America's Most Wanted do that? If they did that, okay, I just want to know. I'm just asking. Nobody wants to tell the friggin' truth. Town Chat says, in my opinion, I still feel that Yellow Jacket guy is one of those people connected to the underground world, in my opinion. Just a gut feeling. I allegedly have my own personal gut feeling opinion. Yeah, I understand that, because we all have that. And I shared something too on my community wall talking about that, because like every time I've gone against my gut feeling, I've been wrong and I regret it. And then I kick myself in the ass for it. And I say, shit, what have I done here? Right? My gut feeling, I ignored my gut feeling. So I do think gut feelings exist. And I do think that people need to follow their own intuitions. You know, that's why I don't want you guys to just agree with me on everything, because if you do that, I'm missing out on your opinions as well. Bless says, you know who did make it home, in my opinion? Yeah, Katie did. Katie made it home. In my opinion, she would have to have, right? Because the neighbor said she was on camera. And I get it. I understand that maybe the neighbors don't want to put this out there, but I think it would be really helpful if they did. Let's see what happened the night that Sebastian allegedly came home from the roadhouse, because the only video that we have, and it is a crisp video. It is crispy clear, right? Crystal clear, crispy. It is. And we can see Sebastian getting into the vehicle with his mother, and they drive off, right, from the Texas Roadhouse. And then after that, we don't see him again. That was our proof of life video, in my opinion. Or they would show us the trash can video. And according to Bobby the neighbor, the trash can video is very hard to decipher, and Seth said the same thing. So we have a corroborated story with two witnesses that have seen the trash can video, where someone allegedly takes the trash can to the end of the driveway, because we know that in Victoria Place, the subdivision where Sebastian lived with his mother Katie and his stepfather Chris, they pick up the garbage every single Monday in that subdivision. So Sunday night, and let's not forget that Katie told everyone on Chronicles of Olivia that Sebastian took the can to the end of the driveway. That's his chore. He takes the can to the end of the driveway. That's a quote from Katie Proudfoot. And it's one that sticks with me when somebody says, well, Lady Freedom, do you think that Sebastian made it home? I think to myself, hell no, I don't know for sure. No, I do not know for sure. And I'm not going to pretend like I know. If I think I know, I might share it, right? All allegedly, in my opinion. But until I see that trash video and see who I think may have been taking out the trash that night, I'm not going to believe that Sebastian even made it home. Because it's very possible that he didn't. It's actually probable that he didn't. But then I go to the flashlight video, and I think to myself, if they drop Sebastian off somewhere, let's just say on the way home from the Texas Roadhouse, then why would they draw attention to their house with the 3 a.m. lights? Right? Because we know there was a car in the area. We know this for a fact because we have video surveillance of it, right? Here we go. So this is the picture here. Shout out to Chris from Mob Crew. Does amazing work. Right? But we see the car. We also see the car, right? Here. It turns up the street, you know, flips a U-ey, goes back up the street, comes around, parks on Stafford, trips off the friggin' lights, right? Trips the lights. Okay. And then the flashlights happen. Someone went back to the house. And guess what? We even have Katie's window in her room. Her bedroom light was on. Or a light in the house. I don't give a crap what light was on. At 3 a.m. there was a light on. At 3 a.m. there was light on. I thought you went to bed at midnight, Katie. Don't you have to work on Monday, Katie? Where's Sebastian, Katie? Where is he? Because it's just quite ridiculous to me. And then you got them, you know, running over to the Texas Roadhouse. That's another thing that bothers me about that. All of the doors and windows were locked. All of them. According to Chris and Katie. If she was at the Texas Roadhouse, why would she need to have the footage so badly? Why did her and SF run up there? Right? I think that something could have went awry at the Texas Roadhouse. If I want to be really honest and I think it all through like that, I think about it being like this. What if there was supposed to be something that went down at the Texas Roadhouse, but it went awry, and all of a sudden, you know, Katie decided that she didn't want to do this, that she didn't want them taking Sebastian, right? Whatever's transpiring, she just decides against it. Maybe that conversation they had scared her. I don't know. Something happened. And then we see the green hoodie and the yellow jacket both having contact with Katie. And perhaps that's why the 3 a.m. lights had to happen. Perhaps that's why there had to be a car in the neighborhood. You know, it's just a theory. But something was being carried out that night. Someone came from Stafford Court, 1008 Stafford Court to be exact, and then they went back with a flashlight. They came out with a flashlight, and they went back with a flashlight. And I can't unsee that. That had to have been something going on there. Whether Sebastian, you know, something, the plan went awry in some way, but there have to be a reason why they would call attention to their house where they didn't even want to put that on the flyer. They said that Sebastian went missing from the area of Stafford Court. Bullshit, he did. His mother said he made it home that night and that he went to bed at 9 p.m. that night from the Texas Roadhouse. So that would mean that he went missing from 1008 Stafford Court. 1008 Stafford Court. Whichever way you want to smash it. And I've said it once and I'll say it again. It's not that easy, to get rid of a person. It's not. So what happened from there? Because we know he's not here anymore. Hey, Borna Honey, thank you for hitting that like button. Good to see you. It seems like every day there's a new child, Mimi Ma. Oh my gosh. I mean, I know. And here's the thing. I'm so focused on Sebastian that a lot of times I'm like, okay, you know, Jude will send me something. Maman will send me something. You know, if it wasn't for Maman, I wouldn't have covered Jayden's case. I probably wouldn't have. And I'm really glad that I did, because he deserves people to know about who he was. He deserves to know. And you know what? It really just solidified what I think about Chris and Katie, because the stories are the same crap over and over and over and over again. And it's ridiculous. And then you get pissed off at me because I tell the truth? Get out of here. Well, and that's a lot to do with it too, Mimi Ma. I agree. I think they're taking advantage of the trafficking going on and getting rid of these poor babies. Yeah, because I think about that with Summer Wells. I really do. I think about her and the trafficking. Um, I do. Because that's one of my theories with her. See, I have a couple of theories for all of these, especially when we don't know. And that's why I was excited to see Josh, because he covered Summer's case from the beginning, from the YouTube side of things, right? And I was really excited to see some of the stuff with, I guess this character Ernie Shell, and all of these people are, you have these strange people coming out of the woodwork, and you're thinking, this is a missing child's case. Like, I get everybody's going to have their opinions, but some of them are very strange. Hey, Rodney and Katrina says, yes, they may be her husband, but Josh was living with her. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, right? Absolutely. Yeah. I think that too, when it comes to Felicia. I think she was living with that Josh guy, and whether he's related or not, I mean, they look it. I don't know. They look it to me. This monster just drives me insane. All of them do. All of them do. Oh, these monsters do. Yeah. Yeah, all of them do too. Me too, Kiki. Because it's just crazy to think that you could do this to your own child and then run down to the McDonald's to get yourself a cheeseburger. It's disgusting. I don't know if it's an accident, you're beside yourself, right? But this girl's only been charged with manslaughter in the second degree, right? And look, Katie, this is what you could have got if you would have said something was an accident. Look how easy it is. Why don't you come clean, in my opinion? Manslaughter in the second degree for little Jayden Spicer. False reporting an incident to law enforcement. Tampering with physical evidence. And abuse of a corpse. Because it's been alleged that she had to break his legs to get him into the tote. And one thing that Justin said that really got me was when he said that she couldn't even bother herself to go buy a tote that he would fit into. How disrespectful. How disrespectful to her own child. And we're going to let this woman out in 20 years? Allegedly, in my opinion, if she's convicted, she'll serve 20 years for these charges if she gets charged, if she's convicted of all four. Just a guesstimate. Thank you to our friend Brandon last night. And you mean to tell me that she's only going to get that much time? That's crazy. And then she's going to be walking among us. If she could do that to her own kids, what do you think she could do to somebody else or somebody else's kids? Well, and that's a thing. That is true, Mima. I think there was a fight. There was a struggle. Chris was very adamant about those scratches coming from the dogs, but I don't think so. It just doesn't match. And because Mima says Sebastian couldn't have been drugged to bite, and the scratches on Edgar are from Sebastian. I believe so too. Something happened, guys, from the time they got home to the time she reported him missing. Obviously something happened, but I don't know if he made it home. I can't really say heads or tails of it. I can't. I just don't know why they would, draw so much attention. Oh yeah, Rodney and Katrina Grisby says there is a CNN video of Josh and Felicia talking about living near where J.D. Vance's family lived, and they are for sure a couple. They definitely look okay. So that's the one that I have on my thumbnail, Rodney and Katrina, and I did kind of a facial comparison. I'm like, they look a lot alike, but I mean, like, it's funny because obviously he put on some weight, because in his Facebook post said in 2018 he had like washboard abs. Gosh. But he did, right? He was physically fit, but then in that one, and on I guess it was CNN, thank you for that, because I didn't know where it came from. I couldn't remember. he definitely had like a pooch, right? Okay, so he had a bit of a fupa going on there, and yeah, so, but I was like, it looks like the same guy to me. And actually, do you know when that was from? I was trying to figure a timeline of like when that could have been from. Here, I did here, because I did load this up. So like, if you look at his face, but then I was like, what if he's got like what if they're twin brothers or something? And one of them has a pooch. I shouldn't have probably covered up. Hold on, maybe I can load this other one in. Oh yeah, there we go. Hold on, guys. And of course, I didn't save his ab picture. That one was in the video that JLR put up. But see how he's got like, I mean, he's got a dad bod. But in 2018, he had like, an 8-minute abs workout video post. So there you go. But to me, in a comparison, that's why I put them side by side. I'm like, they actually look like very much alike. But then again, they could be twins. Or it could be, I just don't know when the CNN, see, that's what I was trying to figure out. But so someone sent me a couple of interesting videos today, and so I had to watch those real quick. Hell yes. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, America's Most Wanted was horrible. Like, I am still mad as hell about that. Like, I'm not going to let that one go. I can't. I'm too mad about it. I saw the picture of Dog in Knoxville 2 days ago, Kiki. I'm praying for him and his family. I know that I read somewhere that his stepson, who took the life of his own son, I heard he was not doing too good. I heard that he's had mental services come in and help him. So I'm just praying for them. I don't know what Dog was doing in Knoxville. I think he's got family here. I'm not sure. The America's Most Wanted didn't do it. Nope. No justice. No justice. Yeah, because they took the whole ending of the video out, right? So then it makes everybody look like, oh, Sebastian went missing on his own accord, right? Like, we just don't know where he is. He's going to be, he's going to come home someday. It's weird. And I'm sorry, but if they're hiding him somewhere, because I know a lot of people think that. I know a lot of my good friends or people that I really respect, creators and things, they do think that could be a strong possibility. And I can't say I don't think that it could be a strong possibility, just because, I've seen the way these schools are. And I remember seeing Paris Hilton talk about it. And that's when it really was on my radar about her going to Provo Canyon, Utah, right? And she said, my parents pulled me out of my bed in the middle of the night. I just left in my pajamas, whatever I was wearing at that time. And they took me and, brought me to this school. And she talks about it. Right? Now, obviously, I'm not saying that, Chris and Katie are the Hiltons by any means, or have the, that money, that kind of money. I'm not comparing that at all. But what I'm saying is there was another there was another show called The Program, and it was a documentary about this very subject. And the same thing, it was all these kids that had quote unquote behavioral problems, and the parents were really trying to get the kids help. They actually brainwashed the parents as well into thinking that their children were going to literally pass away if they didn't get them the help that they could only provide. And this is where they would brainwash them, right? And if we think about it, I know I have moms and grandmas. I know I have dads in here and grandpas in here. I know that. But I know my demographic is very strong with women. And I thank you guys for that. I thank everybody for that. But what I'm getting at is that if we put ourselves in that situation and we think our child, you think that your child is on the brink of death, right? Because they're doing drugs, they're acting crazy, they're, acting a fool on the streets, they're sneaking out of the house, they're doing all kinds of stuff, right? And you're like, what am I going to do with this child? They're being so awful. Like, oh my gosh, they're going to get arrested, they're going to end up dead, they're going to, all of these things. And all you want to do is help your child. You're going to do anything you can to help your child. You're at your wit's end. And then all of a sudden this person comes along and they say, oh, I can do this for you. I can help your child. I can, we have this program and they're going to have to earn stuff back and you're not going to have to be the bad guy and we'll do this. And then they go to this place, they get taken in the middle of the night. They're disoriented. They don't know where they're at. And then they wake up at this place and it's surrounded by water. There's no way. It's out in the middle of, BFE. Just think about how scary that would be for a kid, but let alone the parents did this. They signed them away. There's actually a part in the documentary called The Program where they call the service that will actually take your children in the middle of the night. No questions asked. You call them up and they're like, where do you live and what time, when do you want to do this? Money talks, bullshit walks. You have money? Well, there you go. So, it does. It scares me. There was other schools like this. And it's not even a school. They're not schools. The children do not get a good education in these places. They don't. So I hate to even call them a school because, you send your children for education, you expect that they're going to get an education. Yeah, I wonder, Chuchi, I think so too. In my opinion, the 3 a.m. lights was KP and CP stepped down. Yeah, I believe so too. I believe that they were doing just like Nina said, and the family was involved. Because those are people that that are going to keep quiet. And loose lips, that they will always sink ships. If you're going to be, talking about something, that's the way you get caught. Rodney and Katrina says the Nick Barris video only shows one moving light, in my opinion, and I think it was Katie coming from the house and going back. Yeah, it does, right? So you see the one light source that's kind of waiting, right, like near the street, but comes kind of out a little bit. But Katie has to, come out, in my opinion, and she has to walk to meet the light source, and then she walks back. Yes, absolutely. And if I never saw anybody walking back, I would never think that, of Katie at all. I would think, oh my gosh, it looks like Sebastian left on his own, and I would believe that all day, because I don't need to find a villain to fit my narrative. I base my narrative on the facts that I see, what I have seen. What I've seen when I slow a video down and I take a still shot of it and then I examine the photo. It's almost like a flip book, right? It's like one of those old fashioned flip books, and I wish I had it, but I had a Michael Jordan flip book and I know I have it somewhere in my storage, and I wish I had that. I would show you. It's Michael Jordan dunking basketball, right? But you flip the book and it's like a cartoon, right? It's animated. But it's like that. It's like looking at a negative, right? It's pixelated. You have to really examine it, but you can make out some of the images. And I'm here to tell you, we all have distinguishing features about ourselves, right? Some of us have a really long chin, like Cruella de Vil. Some of us have a popcorn tooth, like old Terry Bowersox say, right? So very distinguishing features. And I'll just leave it at that. Michelle Pacework says, why after Sebastian disappears, change security system and locks down the house like Fort Knox, unless afraid somebody has something to hide, or just maybe they didn't get everything cleaned up evidence-wise. Well, and exactly, Michelle, they allowed for the police to come in, but they said that the police never used luminol or any of the necessary measures, in my opinion. And even Nancy Grace asked, did they take a piece of carpet? Because she said to Chris and Katie Proudfoot when they were on, right, on her show, she asked them, she said, did the police use luminol? And they said no. And she said, well, did the police, did they do any of, or excuse me, she said, does Sebastian's room have carpet or hardwood? And they said carpet. And she said, well, did the police take a carpet sample? And they said no. It's so important, if we think that Sebastian walked off by himself originally, right? Originally, that's what they were told. That's how they were running their assumptions off of. But when you see that nothing of the exterior of the home has been tampered with, all of the windows and doors are locked, then you start to change, I would imagine, how you're looking at the case. And I don't think they did the proper steps, Michelle. I really don't. And you could be right. There could be evidence left behind. Hey, Haunting Hope, good to see you. Hey, Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom. So, you know, she was very nervous about that video. They're very nervous and hateful about the photo where it looks like someone's carrying Sebastian out. They were pissed. They weren't, I was not well received because of that screenshot that was sent over to me. And all I did was slap a couple filters on it. I wish I had the type of technology that the Secret Service and the FBI and even Sumner County Sheriff's Office must have at their disposal. But yeah, they were mad, and that tells me something. Town Chat Cafe says, lady, you know, it would be interesting to see if she ever called into her work and reported what happened, and that she wouldn't be working that day if she was scheduled to work. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking she was, just because it seems like that's kind of what her schedule was, you know, probably 8 to 4, 9 to 5, something like that. I know Sebastian would get off the bus and he'd have a little bit of time, you know, after getting home, you know, waiting for Katie to get off of work, is what's been alleged. And then it sounds like she was off on the weekends, you know, because they would do things like Costco and BJ's and bowling and da-da-da, you know, so it sounds like she had the weekends off. So I'm guessing. Now, I would like to hear about that. I heard she's still working for Brinks. I don't know if that's true or not. I heard it from a reliable source, but I'm not sure. And I think it's very odd, too, that they mess with the surveillance, like Michelle said. You know, and here's my way of thinking. Look, if my husband's working out of town, I'm going to have some cameras on. Oh, you most definitely. You're telling me the whole neighborhood had camera systems. She worked for Brinks, but they didn't have a camera. And it was also alleged by Nina that they had cameras. Because Nina asked Chris that. Like, Chris, what about your cameras? I thought you guys had cameras. I'm so glad you're here, Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom. I'm glad At Night's doing analytics too, Kiki. Yeah, we brought that in as on Thursday. Well, it was actually Friday morning, 12 o'clock or 12:30-ish. But yeah, we talked about that last time because I think I still have it loaded in here. They're doing like a facial recognition on Sebastian's, on anyone who was around Sebastian that evening. At Night is conducting a major facial surveillance sweep aimed at identifying and making direct contact with every individual observed in the vicinity of Sebastian on the night of February 25th, 2024. This operation leverages advanced imaging analytics, public and private camera archives, and coordinated outreach to witnesses. The goal is simple but urgent: to locate, interview, and document each person present in the crucial window. I think that's so important, guys. And I know there's things about at night that I but look, it needs to happen. Am I saying that law enforcement doesn't know who these people are? No, I'm not saying that, because I don't know that. I'd have to be a fucking wizard. But I'll tell you what, we need to figure out who these people are. I'd sleep a little bit better at night if I knew who that Yellow Jacket character is. Because there's no reason for him to have Sebastian's picture. No reason at all. Right? So I want to know who these people are. I hope they share it with the public. I hope that they let us know what's going on, so that way we can lay some of these rumors to rest, or we can start focusing our attention and our energy on things that matter. Because if we're focusing our attention and our energy, like for example, I know a lot of you guys might not know this, but I have this in my lives before. So when I was looking at the Yellow Jacket, right? One of the viewers had sent a picture to me that looked kind of like this, but it was the beginning stages. And it was like where you can see Yoda on Sebastian's shirt. And I thought, okay, where did this come from? I go to the video on Dog the Bounty Hunter's website, right? That I post. I actually save a lot of videos. So I save this video from his particular post from his official Dog the Bounty Hunter on YouTube, right? And so I go in here and I zoom in on the Yellow Jacket's phone and I slow the video down, and then the image emerges, right, of Sebastian, and this is the end result. And you might have to pinch and zoom in a little bit if you can't see. But it's a dark shirt with Yoda on it, just as Sebastian was wearing it. And little did I know, and I followed hindsight. I've always followed hindsight during this case, as far back as I can remember, at least. And I didn't know it, but she was actually looking at the movements of Yellow Jacket in the Texas Roadhouse while I was working on this. And so I went over one night and I looked at her video where she's showing where this guy is, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this was going to be my next step, right? Is to find out where all he was in the restaurant. What did he order? Did he have a drink? Did he have some food? Did he get an appetizer? What was he doing? Right? Was he waiting on a to-go order? Was he a DoorDasher? Who is this guy? And I find out that he was in there, and it appears he didn't buy any food. He really is just kind of meandering around, and then he ends up making contact with Katie in the little foyer area of the restaurant. And I just said to myself, I'll be damned, because I wasn't paying attention to this person. I was paying attention to the green hoodie, who is also a very strange character in all of this, right? Who law enforcement says, oh yeah, we've cleared the green hoodie. And they came out and did that lickety split after we had a chance to review some of the footage from the Texas Roadhouse. Oh, they were quick as hell to come out and say that person was cleared. Nothing to see here. And I believed him. I said, okay, wasn't her. I did that song Shaggy, was it me? Was it me? Right? Because here I am. We're supposed to, be able to trust law enforcement. It's really sad when you can't. Really sad when you can't. But let me just ask you guys this too. What mom just drives around the neighborhood looking for her son with the windows rolled up? I mean, Katie, I'm sorry. Give me a reason to think that you had nothing to do with this. Because this is not convincing. Not convincing at all. And neither is, any of your behavior. You're just like this other mother, Jayden Spicer. And then Crispy spends all of his time trolling YouTube. Right? And you're okay with it. Oh yeah, Chuchi, you think that that CP was there? Oh, Haunting Hope says, we do need to have to look at we have to look at this guy? He was on freaking News Nation. I closed out immediately. Oh no, sorry, Haunting Hope. I know these people are very creepy, very creepy. Yes, I did. I'd change it. Well, I won't leave him up too long if I put him back. I mean, he's creepy. Thanks, Holly S. I'm just trying to think it all through, you know? But then it still stumps me when I think, okay, now what did they do with him after that? Say somebody just took him, you know, say they dropped him off, you know, and there was a handoff and somebody took him somewhere. Where'd they take him? Also, if the 3 a.m., you know, if he's brought to the car at the 3 a.m. like video, right? Again, what happened from there? So it's definitely a lot to think about. Yeah. Looked smoky, and they had had help and plenty of equipment to make sure it was quietly pulled off and easy to clean up. Well, and then we also have the campers, right? The fifth wheels, whatever you want to call them. And, you know, there's a lot of speculation surrounding that as well. I know they could. I really know. Yeah, Holly S says, I feel like LE could enhance the videos if they really wanted. I think so too. I absolutely think so too. Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind. If my little software could do that, then theirs could do so much better, you know, and really get under people's, you know, get their panties in a twist, right? Because it, you know, it was this, Lady Freedom did this, she you know, made up the photo. It's from the Idaho 4. That was the one that really pissed me off the most, because I'm like, okay, well, if it's from the Idaho 4, you know, send it to me, let me see it. And the minute I saw it, I said, how could those come from that? There's no way. There's no way. You know, now, I mean, send me something that I can sink my teeth into. I'm going to give it a chance, but geez. And even still, I did my due diligence on it, and sure as shit, it's not the Idaho 4. That is from when the lights were tripped off across the street. Motion sensor lights were tripped. And that wasn't supposed to happen. I'm just taking a bet, or excuse me, I'm just taking a wild guess, but I would bet on that. All day. Alleged thump as well, Chuchi. Yes, absolutely. And that thud didn't even come into play until Nancy Grace's episode, right? Because on Smiley, she said it was a noise from his room. And she said that's not uncommon. Sometimes I hear him in his room, you know. And that was allegedly an hour after bedtime. 9 o'clock was bedtime. But when Nancy Grace said, well, what kind of noise was it? And she goes, just a thud, you know. And then Nancy's, you know, spidey senses went up immediately. You could see it. Aw. Did somebody gift a membership? That's cool. Thank you. I didn't even get a notification, guys. I'm sorry. Thank you to whoever gifted a membership. And welcome to the Dragon Tribe. Sorry, I was looking for it. That wasn't a great welcome, was it? I'm sorry. Welcome to the Dragon Tribe. And Linda says, Chuchi, I agree about CP being there, with him supposedly knowing everything about what happened when Sebastian supposedly walked out the door, quotes, in my opinion. Well, and I'm thinking that too, Linda Hall, because he actually kind of spilled the beans on it a little bit. A couple of times. He said everybody would have been away, you know, everybody would have heard. If Sebastian went out the window, he would have screamed and would have woke everyone up, that sort of thing, without a direct quote. But yeah, he slipped up a bunch of times. Hey, Scranton, good to see you. I wonder if this happens often in these cases. You know, I'm starting to see trends and patterns, Holly S. I really am. And I mean, it's weird because, you know, I didn't ever really see these before, where it was like, okay, the parents say this, the kid disappears in the middle of the night. You know, it's just really, really odd. It's always been odd. I mean, Summer Wells's case was so super odd to me. And again, like I said, I didn't follow a whole lot on YouTube about it. But like even mainstream, or even when I saw the Dr. Phil episode and like she like freaks out about the cornbread mafia, and it's like, what the hell is going on here? And who the hell is cornbread mafia, right? So of course, you know, I thought about that too. But she had a visceral reaction to it, you know? Ooh, a bonfire. That's awesome. Aw. Good to see you, little Miss Sharon. Yeah, so I mean, you know, it's the Night Owl family. Town chat. Yes, yes, we are nocturnal over here. Um, but gosh, that's what I was so tired yesterday, and then you know Nate had come home early, and I was like, oh my gosh, never mind, I'm not going to go live during the day. And then I was like, you know, Bullhorn Betty broke this news about Jayden Spicer and the stepdad, and I'm like, okay. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna have to just prepare for tomorrow night. But now Sunday night, I wanted to let you guys know, I'm like tomorrow I'm gonna go have some fun in the sun, because I really need it. And you know, hey Carla, good to see you. Oh no, your back is out. Oh gosh. Oh, I'm so sorry, Carla. I know that is very painful. Oh goodness, say prayers for Carla, guys. Oh, okay, Kiki. Oh, girl, you better drop your link, okay? Because, okay, so Kiki, I saw your post about doing a review on how a mind works of these crazies. Sorry. Yeah, getting into the mind of these, you know, nut jobs that we talk about. I know that there's a psychology behind it. You know, obviously we're dealing with narcissists, psychopaths, sociopaths, you know, the antisocial variety of society, right? These fucking assholes. Hey, I am Two Bear. We see them all the time on YouTube too. It's amazing to me. I hope that changes too. I do too. Yeah. And also, guys, I wanted to tell you too about Sebastian Rogers. If you guys if you have ideas about a 2-year event, and that's what it seems like we're going to be shooting for here, about doing something for Sebastian, right? And it's going to be, you know, awareness style, but you know, just in terms of, because I know a lot of us talked about it in chat when I brought it up a few days ago. But if you could just put your ideas in writing and just send them to me in an email, but make sure you put event in the subject line, so that way I can, you know, organize those and, you know, talk with the other creators about them, because I'm going to be reaching out to creators too, which I have not done yet, but I wanted to kind of get some of the details ironed out. Bullhorn Betty is super knowledgeable about how to go about doing these things. And so I wanted to get together with her and say, you know, what can we do, or how can we help? Because I told her, I mean, I know a lot of you guys are also viewers over at Bullhorn Betty, but I told her, I said, people had great ideas and really want to help. So, yeah. Okay. See, this is the thing. I am Tuber says she has 3 kids with Josh, Hunter, Fisher, and River. Yeah. So maybe, is that her? Like, did she marry her ex-husband's brother or something? I am Tuber. I am still so confused about it. I'm like, what's the odds of having two guys named Gross, you know? A normal mother would call for help if their child took too much medication, Rodney and Katrina. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the problem. For me, with Felicia Gross, Jayden Spicer's mom. And she has all these babies. She knows damn well how to administer some medication for a child. You know, and I don't know whose sleeping pills she gave him, because he wasn't supposedly medically diagnosed with anything that would require medication, and that's why an Amber Alert was not issued. An endangered child alert was not issued on Jayden Spicer, because there was no documented health issues. You know? Yeah, it should be a worse charge. I agree. Manslaughter second degree is not a heavy enough charge. But we have to prove intent in her case. You know, they have to prove that intent, right? That she intentionally did something to Jayden. It is so sickening, Kiki. It wasn't an accident, in my opinion. You know, and we all know, again, being moms, or, you know, or if you've ever had to give, you know, a baby medicine or a young child or something like that, there's always a dosage that you give them. So you start out with that dose, right? And if you were to double that dose, that could overdose them. Say you triple or quadruple the dose. I mean, you know what you're doing at that point. You know damn well what you're doing. You know? And that's what kills me, because I don't feel sorry for her. Just like I don't feel sorry for Katie when she's the last one with her son. I can't. My give a damn is busted. It's busted. I think about Sebastian and how he feels and how he must have felt and how scary it must have been living with Chris Proudfoot. Because we know how Chris likes to intimidate people who are smaller than him, or who he perceives are weaker than him. But he found out. And I also think they underestimated the public and how much we actually care about Sebastian. That's a good point. Michelle Pacework says, okay, if scratches and bite marks was from a dog, in my mind, what was going on, that animal resorts to its primal instincts. Yeah, Chris said that he was like roughhousing. Those Yorkies are so small. Like, I don't know if Morkies are a little bit bigger, but like, I don't think they are. I'm pretty sure they're small little teeny tiny dogs, you know, like they're small. Even the full size, because I know there's like teacup ones too and stuff, but I mean, they're just little tiny dogs. They're adorable, I think. But yeah. Heather Ann says, in my opinion, CP was there, otherwise the Bowersox would not be involved. Yeah. I mean, I think he was there. I think he came home more frequently. And then again, if he didn't, I just kind of attribute that to the relationship of Chris and Katie being a very rocky one, where he wasn't even coming home when Sebastian wasn't there. That says a lot. And if he was doing that to ice Katie out, and because of the ultimatum that has been allegedly said by neighbors and different people have corroborated it, saying that there was an ultimatum where Chris said it's either him or me. And maybe he was icing her out. And maybe he was going and spending time with other females when he was gone. And she knew that. And so she decided that it was going to be him and not Sebastian. In my opinion. Look at that mother, Brittany Gosler, or whatever her last name is, or her poor little son, James Hutchinson. She was given an ultimatum too. He said either you get rid of the kids or I'm going to kick you out. He didn't want the kids there anymore. So she chose him over the kids. You know? Same story. Put the kids to bed at 9. In the morning, they were gone. They actually went to the police station and reported that. And then the police were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on. Let's talk to you guys. Listen, first of all, we're going to separate the two of yous. You're going to go in this room, and this one's going to go in this room, and we're going to figure this out, because there's no way that this story makes sense. Now, granted, Brittany and her husband, James, his name was James, too. Poor. Their house was probably not clean. They probably weren't in the military. As a matter of fact, I don't think they were. So. And Chuchi says, in my opinion, KP, do you really think CP and his family really have your back? In my opinion, they will turn on you just like they did with Nina. I agree. And I think that's why Katie goes along with it too. Because it's like, if you can't beat them, join them type of a thing. Oh, thank you, Kiki. Let me take a look. Town Chat says, and yeah, in my opinion, maybe Edgar and KP did meet up on the way home, and maybe Sebastian did bite him, and they got rid of him before KP could go home, and that's how he got the bite marks, in my opinion. Well, it definitely looks like he may have tried to overtake Sebastian or someone from behind, and that's why he has all of the wounds, the defensive wounds on his arms, is my opinion too, Town Chat. Thank you. Let me look at my message really quick. Katie says he's on camera in my car. Seth says the video was on Ring and Granny with no date. She didn't show him the right video. Well, and I'm wondering too. I mean, and they have all of the footage, according to SF. He's got all the camera footage from the neighborhood. So how come they haven't put it out? You know, Kiki, that's a good, I mean, that makes you think. Hey, Rob Beanie, so that's a good point. Rob Beanie, Rob Beanie's over there dabbing in the chat. Oh, hey, Kelly Holcomb, good to see you. Carla says, yes, I believe he went home, or no 3 a.m. lights. There is nothing else or no reason for them. All other ideas for that don't have an important reason for that action. Yeah, I agree with that, Carla. You know, and I just can't help but think that anyway, because I don't think they would draw attention. But then again, what if they forgot something? You know, whatever they were carrying was something large. You know, and I know some people are alleging too that perhaps it's like they're bringing out, you know, Sebastian's belongings, you know. Yeah, no car in the America's Most Wanted video, Robini. Great point. Yeah, how come they didn't show the car that was in the area? You mean to tell me that they didn't have that? I mean, they didn't research it well enough, in my opinion. Churchy says, in my opinion, CP's mom and dad took him to Alaska on their trip. And a lot of people have thought about that too. I mean, there is some sort of an Alaska connection, in my opinion. I'd like to know if that was an annual trip. I mean, I know that Chris said it is, that his stepfather went, you know, for work frequently, but hell if I know if that's the truth, you know? Oh, cool. You're going to read statements from a facility in Tennessee. That'll be really interesting, Kiki. And I'm sorry, guys, I'm a little behind in the chat. Like Squid Games, I am too bear. Oh, my goodness. Hey, Ann Brock, good to see you. Thank you for being here. I've never watched the Squid Games, but I think I'm actually I know what you're talking about. Like, I'm under the understanding of what the premise for the show is, you know. Rodney and Katrina says he does look different between the profile pic and the CNN video, but it's 5 years difference. So I guess age and rugs is the reason. Yeah, he looks like he's got, I mean, you know, like maybe a beer belly or like, you know, exactly. You're right though. We all kind of, you know, grow up and get out of shape sometimes. So thank you. So 5 years. That's interesting. Oh, thank you, Sandy Johnson. Johnson says, I'm from Horn Lake, Mississippi, not far from Yogi Bear RV Park, and like 20 minutes to St. Jude in Memphis. Just knowing CP was this close makes me vomit. Yes, I bet, Sandy. Oh my goodness. I know. Well, he's a major trigger for all of us, I know, because, you know, just his voice, sometimes I'll be playing his, you know, what he says, because I try to stick to what, hey, Ann Reynolds, I try to stick to like what he says or what they've said, because I don't want to, you know, speculate more than we have to, or more than, you know, because we already have to speculate so much. That's so funny though. Yeah. It's a scary thought, I bet. Hey, Joe, good to see you. Hey, SI officer. Thank you, Kiki. In my opinion, every single person is treating it like there's nothing to see here. They don't want to bring attention to any of it, of course. Yeah, oh, definitely. Or they'll be like, whoever, you know, has stills from that is a liar or whatever, and, you know, go on the defensive instead of saying, okay, wow, well, that is a little bit of proof, right, in the pudding. Because in my opinion, it really is. I mean, we all have distinguishing features. We just do, you know? Little Miss Sharon says the bottom line is that there are too many problems with Sebastian missing. Bite marks, car at 3 a.m. Oh, and the video and voice as well. How is this not related as well? And Sebastian's underweight. Aw, I know, Little Miss Sharon. And just the way that he was being treated in the Roadhouse video. Like, that really got my heart. Because, hey, Lori, because, you know, hey, Lolo, thank you for being here. It's good to see you. You know, because I mean, look, there was a reason they were so upset about the picture. You know, one little measly picture, and they were really upset about all of them. And, you know, then the Krama channels were like, oh, I can't believe this, you know, and it's like, okay, well, I mean, I will say that some of the people in the chat were like, it does kind of look like, you know, but I also put Seth right next to the comparison. So I didn't only put Chris there, I put Seth in there too. And you know, bless Seth for not getting mad at me. But I mean, I had to do it, right? Because it's not fair to just put one person in there. But the conclusion that I came to, and the first person that it came to mind that it looked like, was CP. And that was always alleged, in my opinion. Well, and that's it, too. We have these elements. Little Miss Sharon says, a stepfather with a record of abuse and aggressive behavior. Like, exactly. You know, I mean, that's going to give us a little indicator that something isn't right. And I mean, like I said before, I do believe Nina. I think she's very believable. I don't think that she wanted to hurt Chris, in my opinion. I think she was just more wanting to help Sebastian. I mean, I would be devastated if that happened in my ex, anyone, you know, boyfriend, husband, whatever, in their household. I'd be thinking, oh my gosh, you know, what is going on? Someone introduced us to the Squid Game segment. See, I've never watched Squid Games. I have not. Yeah. SI officer says they keep discrediting too much too quick, and it's absolutely credible, in my opinion, 100%. Yeah, we just need to figure out who's who. I'm glad they're going to do a sweep, or however they put it, into anybody who encountered Sebastian on the 25th. What would it hurt to go back and re-interview witnesses? I mean, I don't see a problem with it. I think the only people that would see a problem with that are somebody who has guilty knowledge or who doesn't want the truth out. Lori says, I believe Nina too. Yeah, I mean, because she would have made herself look a lot better too if she was lying. She'd have been like, "Oh, I'm perfect," and everything I did was just great, and Chris is the worst. So, oh, I need to let Mama know. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay, I just wanted to text Mama. I don't know what thing you're talking about, Carla. Carla, it's a show. It's a show, and it's kind of like an elimination show, I guess. Kiki says, I was so surprised when I brought out analytics of the Texas Roadhouse, and then boom, they're checking stuff like that now. I was like, wow, and praise God. Exactly. And Kiki, I think the biggest thing too is just remembering that like there's such a large digital footprint that is left every single place that we all go. It doesn't matter where we go. If I went up to the gas station, I would be on the cameras up there. If I go over to the mall, I'm at the mall cameras. Even in the parking lots, some places. I don't see them as much over here. But like back in Missouri, they would have like a police, well, there was panhandlers all over the place there, like up at the Walmart, and stuff like that. So, but they would have like, it was like a surveillance system and it said police on it and everything. And they were recording the parking lot activities and stuff like that. So it's interesting. It's really, really interesting how, that all works. Because, I mean, even the plate readers were mentioned very early on. And there's also that system. I need to find the live, Kiki, but I did a live about just this multi-county communications that they had just put into place right before Sebastian went missing. And yet they didn't use that in his case. I don't know why. I think Eric Craddock dropped the ball. I do. I think he dropped the ball, and I think, he was operating under the assumption, that Sebastian just walked off. And so he doesn't want to, look like the ass that he is for doing that, because you should never do that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's your best friend and their kid goes poof in the middle of the night. You already know that's messed up. Look at the aunts in Jayden Spicer's case, right? They're like, something's not right because he doesn't like to go into the woods, and he doesn't like bugs, and he's afraid of the dark. They're like sitting there spitting red flags left and right. Of course. It doesn't add up. It's weird, right? I don't care if you're my family, my best friend. No, something isn't right here. And there's a child missing. Linda Hall says, I wanted to get my dukes up against Katie with the way that she treated Sebastian at the Texas Roadhouse, in my opinion. Yeah, Linda, I feel the same way. I was really, really disappointed to see that, because, I mean, I don't like to say bad things about other moms. I really don't. I don't like to say bad things about other women. But if I have to, I'm going to do it. I have to, but I don't like to. It's like, I was really hoping that we would see like a loving relationship there, or, something that would make me change my mind about how I feel about this case and what could have happened. But every time we get a new piece of information, it goes into the guilty box. It doesn't go into the not guilty box, right? Like if I have two columns, guilty, not guilty, for Katie Proudfoot, right? Every time a new piece of information comes out, I have to put it in the guilty side. Show me some information that I can put in the non-guilty side. Because, I mean, the guilty side is full. Okay? I'm just going to say that. It's full. It's overflowing. I ain't got nowhere else to put the guilty shit. It's unbelievable, and I don't like it. It's really disturbing to me that a mother would do this to their child. Really disturbing. Like, I would rather it be the dad all day long. No offense to us, to the dads out there. You know? This is making us look bad as mothers. Like, I'm going, oh my God. You know, did she really do that? Did she really write a letter? Felicia Spicer, did you really write a letter? Or Gross, or whatever the hell your last name is. Whoever these people are. And it is a pattern, Little Miss Sharon, and we see it over and over again, you know, and the same stories. And then we're like, okay, well, what do we think? Because I certainly don't want to think a mama would do this. I mean, you carry your baby for 9 months. Because we're here for Sebastian SI officer. Yes, we are. Yeah. And it makes me, I mean, I just can't feel sorry for Katie at that point. I can't, because she won't come out and tell the truth. If I thought, you know, she ever came out and was real with us, I wouldn't roast her like this. I'd be right there saying, you know, what can we do to help you, Katie? But if she can't even help herself, and then she wants to go out there and ask, oh, please help me find my kid. Please help me find my kid. When, in my opinion, she knows where he is. So that even makes me more mad at her. I'm not like these beautiful people over there, the Hatfield McCoys. I'm not. You know, I'm pissed. And I didn't even go off and, you know, actually physically search, right? But they're so sweet. They're like, no, it's okay. At least Jayden was found. But I mean, those people both face lie to her. You know, her face wouldn't barely look at her. Shirley, excuse me, Sheila. I don't know why I want to call her Shirley. Sheila McCoy, right? And then her husband, they're looking at the husband, but she says, she's like, you know, or, well, I think Fred said it. He goes, you know, she told her, we're going to find that boy, you know, because I'm sure her spidey senses were going off. Wow. Sandy Johnson says, Daniel said he's been interviewed 100 hours. I'm guessing you're talking about Daniel in Jack and Lily's case, their stepdad. Green hearts all day. We're going to find him. We're going to find him. Something's going to crack, especially if At Night's doing this facial, you know, recognition, trying to find these people, re-interviewing witnesses, you know. We just got to kind of help them out and keep the heat on, you know. I'd love to know the same thing, SI officer, even when I think back about coming up with a good timeline. I have to consider what's happened in the past, right? I have to consider what happened to Sebastian in California. I have to consider what happened to Sebastian at the White House, White House, right? That they lived in prior to this. They just moved in on Stafford Court, right? And it seems that ever since they moved in on Stafford Court, that's where the 4 CPS reports have come from, right? CPS involvement in Cali because of what happened to Sebastian there, right? So we have this. We have a custody battle with Nina versus Stepfoot. All of these things have to be considered. Sebastian was in counseling, right? He was seeing a therapist. And Seth has the notes, right? He said that if we saw any of these things, that it would make us have nightmares, that we wouldn't be able to sleep at night. That's how horrible it was for him. You know, I don't know when this ultimatum was, but the ultimatum is definitely important. The ultimatum is important. When did Chris start telling Katie, we got to get rid of this kid, right? You know what else is important is that they were going to put him in a school. they were looking at schools to put Sebastian in, behavioral schools, not for autism, not for children who are on the spectrum, who need extra therapies. No, they were going to put him in a behavioral school. Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says, until an agency that aren't friends or buddies with the Proudfoot steps in, Sebastian's case will not be solved, in my opinion. It makes me sick. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. There's a bottleneck, and in my opinion, it's Sumner County that's creating that bottleneck in the case. It's halting investigations, in my opinion. Little Miss Sharon says, why does someone have to die before LE takes notice? It's the same as a road intersection. Someone dies before something is done. I agree with that, Little Miss Sharon. I've thought the same exact thing myself. Like, why is it that things can be reported and reported and reported and reported, and then all of a sudden, when something really, really bad happens, then it's like, oh, well, we should have done something about it. Well, yeah, because you were aware of it. When you know better, you do better. So you already knew better. Why didn't you do better? You already knew that Sebastian was being abused in the house. In my opinion, they told Chris that he needed to leave. Or maybe he said, hey, Mom, and he said, you know what? I work out of town anyway. I just took, because he just took that job in February. So he told him, in my opinion, I'm not even going to be home. I work out of town. And they probably said, okay. Because in my opinion, I don't know that Katie was the one that was doing these things to Sebastian. Maybe she was. Because to be quite honest with you, when I look at that Optimism t-shirt picture, if that is really from the day before this, the 24th of February, 2024, at Costco, Sebastian had a bruise on his neck, around his throat. Looks like somebody grabbed him around the throat in a C-clamp motion around his throat, in my opinion. It's clear as day on the photo. So if Chris wasn't around to do that, then who did that to Sebastian? Was it one of Chris's family members? Because we know how Sebastian was bullied by them. You can see it in his birthday video. Said, Aunt Melissa, stop bullying me. And she continued to bully him the whole entire time. Mom, and I'm glad you're here. Love having you here. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, guys. Facial recognition. Thank you, Kiki. Yeah. We need to find out who these fools are that didn't buy any food, that were just meandering around, that made contact with Katie. At least the two that made contact with Katie. Because really, there was minimal interaction, in my opinion, between the wait staff and Katie. And then she paid her bill on the tableside POS, point of sale system, right? So there was minimal. I like Dexter. SI officer, I like Dexter too. They have cameras on the highway too. They have isn't there a new Dexter out? I saw that. I was like, oh, I gotta watch that. Linda says they have cameras on the highway too. Yeah. So how come there was nothing picked up? And when I played Stephen Crabtree's account of when he talked to the gentleman that owns Worsham's, right? That little place where you get biscuits and lotto and cigarettes and whatnot. He said that he was linked up to, a bunch of different cameras in the area. because they were that they were in kind of like a little co-op with the cameras, and people would give permission to have their ring cameras within this group kind of published, if you will, so everybody could see it. And then if something in the area happened, then they were checking to see if anybody was caught on video. Why weren't those checked by law enforcement? Why did Stephen Crabtree go in there 2 weeks later and get all this information? Now, this is all alleged by him. But I'm just saying, I mean, he's just a local guy. Why is he investigating and not the police? Took them forever to go back in there and get the footage, according to Stephen, if I can remember correctly. And I did play it here on the channel, guys. And, do I believe everything that comes out of Stephen's mouth? No, I can't. But in the same way, I don't see why he would say something like that. And, it did make sense to me. I'm just going to say that. Which not a lot of the shit that comes out of his mouth makes sense to me. But that did. Metadata is so important, SI officer. Metadata, guys, if you guys don't know, and I didn't know about this until the Johnny Depp trial, Depp versus Heard trial, but every single photo that we take, it has metadata attached to it, right? And so does video and that sort of thing of, where it came from, its original source. And it stays with that photo or that video. It stays there. So when people look at the metadata, they can see where the photo or the video originated from. And that's how Johnny Depp won his case with Amber Heard, because she doctored a photo and made it look like she had, this big, mark on her face. But when they went back to the metadata, they said, oh, hell no. And if I had a comparison to do of anybody and their personality disorder, it would be Katie Proudfoot and Amber Heard. She is absolutely histrionic, in my opinion. She shows many of the characteristics, and she's extremely immature, in my opinion. Carla says, I think he dropped and then kicked the ball on purpose. Well, I mean, it certainly seems that way, because, if I had made a mistake to this magnitude in a missing child's case, I would be backtracking like a mug, and I would be trying to fix it. And I'd be transparent. Just like tonight. We're going to go over, a little bit of footage from the news. Aw, have fun, little Miss Sharon. Don't worry about being here. I mean, girl, have fun. It's only some, and guys, I've been drinking pumpkin spice in my coffee, and I'm like, what am I doing? It's summertime. I need to enjoy the summer and don't kind of rush the fall, but I do like pumpkin spice, so. But it's just absolutely insane. I don't know. In my opinion, you backtrack. If you're wrong about something, you say it. You say, I was wrong, and this is the correct information. It's not that hard. And like I said, who cares? All those people out there that are know-it-alls, that think they're always perfect, they're always right. No, they're not. Those people have the massive ego problem, and they just can't friggin' admit when they're wrong. They're never gonna apologize. They don't feel bad. They'll spread shit around, not giving a crap. And then they'll get mad when you don't believe them. It doesn't make a difference to me. Kiki says, girl, just the privacy policy. If you read that on the Texas Roadhouse, it shows how our phones pick up anywhere. Well, and that's the thing. Where's all that data? Like, was that pulled in, or did they neglect to do it? They must have neglected to do that. Because you're right. I mean, it's going to show anybody and everybody that was over there that day. That was a great live, by the way, Kiki. Yeah, they do Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom. To my knowledge, they have plate readers. Perfectly Imperfect asked, does Sumner County have plate readers? I know Wilson County, county next door, does. And the difference it makes in catching criminals is insane. Well, yeah. And I mean, you know, I hate to like live in a police state or anything like that, right? Like I want, you know, us to govern ourselves more than the government does, right? I'm kind of, you know, against big government, but in the same way, it's like if you could cut down on crime like that, that's what we need to do. You know, people can't be trusted to do the right thing anymore. It seems like, you know, and gosh, how many people were, you know, let go and they, you know, because there was no evidence, but now we have this and look what we can do with it, you know. I heard they do. That's the best of my knowledge. Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom, but again, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, or if you know that they don't, but they did roll out this, you know, multi-county communications, and I don't exactly remember what it was called, but it was, you know, in order to catch criminals in case they went to the next county over, or, you know, and they could get the word out a lot quicker. So as soon as they saw the 3 a.m. car, which I'm referring to this car in the neighborhood, then they should have been on it. Where were they? You know, why weren't they looking out for this particular vehicle? Because I'm willing to bet that somebody has the license plate number for this vehicle. Maybe not, but this is only one camera angle for the entire neighborhood. You know? Hey, MS, exactly. CP and KP are both POS. MS, that's funny. Hey, Detroit. Ann Brock says, in my opinion, I wonder if Yellow Jacket person is kind is kin to CP and KP. I don't know if they are kin. I don't know what the connection is. I just want to know who Yellow Jacket guy is. I just want to know who he is. You know, I don't want to bug him. I don't want to try to reach out to him and interview him. That's not my job. But I do want to know who he is. And I just want to find out, you know, why did you have Sebastian's picture? Allegedly, it looks like, on your phone. Exactly. Yeah. Chuchi says, in my opinion, how about this? Katie, you tell us the truth so we can find Seth's child. The women who do this is just a birthing machine. A mother would not do this. I agree, Carla. I agree. It's too horrific. It's too horrific. What was Nancy Grace said it the other day. She said it, and she almost started crying. She was like, just the thought of my child in a shallow grave. She's like, just the thought of it. You know, and she almost had that big old burly man crying too. Old Trooper Gayheart over there was about in tears. And I'm like, oh my God. But it's the truth. You don't even want to think of somebody hurting your child or your child being hurt at all. You know? Oh, Dexter Resurrection. That's what it's called. Thanks, Rodney and Katrina. Yeah, I love that show. Currently watching Dexter Resurrection. It's so good, but the first 8 seasons of the original Dexter is the best. See, that's what I was thinking. I might not even watch it because I don't know, you know? Yeah, the first 8 seasons were really, really good. Yeah, I liked Dexter. Dexter is very good. Someone recommended that to me years ago, and they're like, oh, if you like true crime, you'll love Dexter. And I'm like, no. I'm like, isn't that about like a serial killer? And they're like, yeah, but he's a good one. And I'm like, a good one? And then I had to watch it, and I'm like, oh yeah. And it's funny too, kind of how he finds who he chooses. Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says, then they should use them, and Wilson County has them on patrol cars, and it will notify cops immediately if they have expired tags, no insurance, warrants, statewide, etc. Yeah, I think that is super useful, and I know that it sucks, like, if if your tags expire, they run your plates and you're like, dang, and they'll usually just give you a warning or whatnot. But yeah, no insurance, I mean, that's another good thing too, and especially warrants and stuff like that, because I mean, obviously, you know get it taken care of. It would suck or whatever, but you just have to get it taken care of. And then that way, they know that the streets are safer. Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says Shirley Sumner could have used that technology to get leads on the case. I would say so. Yeah, because anytime they pass by it, it would read the plate. And all they would have to be looking out for at that point, I don't know if it tells them the make and model, color, and that sort of thing. But you would think, yeah, that would be really good. Oh, I'm glad you're here, Miss Ann. Michelle says you can birth a child, but it doesn't make you a mom. It's knowing you will love and protect and never let harm come to them. That's what makes you a mom. That is so true, Michelle. It is so true. And whenever I saw Chris Proudfoot on, Cluminati, and he is, pretending he's Sling Blade and doing all this nonsense on the streets, and Katie thought it was funny, that's when I knew that she wasn't a real mom. And again, when Katie would make fun of Sebastian, I knew right there. When she said, oh, he's got a really unique rhythm, and was laughing at him under her breath, I thought the exact same thing, Michelle. I thought, nope, this is not a mom. A mom protects her son. A mom protects her daughter. A mom protects. And it just broke my heart for Sebastian, because I didn't know what Katie actually thought about what Chris did, acting like Sling Blade. I thought maybe she was upset about it behind the scenes, but hearing that back and then hearing her laughing about it on Queen Bee, no way. Because it's not funny. I mean, it's kind of like, when you're growing up even, and you're not even a mom or a dad yet, but somebody makes fun of your brother or your sister, and you're like, hey, I tease my brother and my sister, but you're not allowed to do that, type of a thing. You protect your family. And I don't see that with Katie. I think Katie is a sellout like a mug. I think she'd sell anybody out for herself, and because she's selfish. I know. I do too, Little Miss Sharon. I'm with you. I do want to believe in at night, but that has been nothing. There has been nothing yet. Yeah, I'm just hoping. I'm hoping that this is something that they can get some information from. And again, I think if they can, go back and re-interview people, that's really going to help a lot. Let's just put it this way. Who do you all think you are fooling here? All the BS. Be right back. SA officer. I agree. Well, they do. They get upset when they can't fool us. Then they're like, oh, well, you're just hateful. You're this, you're that, whatever, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm just going by what you've said, and it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, a boot camp school, MS. A boot camp school, in my opinion. And also, if you think about the BD schools, and the kids that attend the BD schools, and now, I feel sorry for these kids. I think that I hope and pray that they get help. But I mean, some of these kids have been to juvie. Has Sebastian ever been to juvie? Because those kids get a little bit rough. I don't know about how Tennessee is. I don't know about that area. But, I mean, in Summer Wells's case, we saw, Hunter over there throwing up Vice Lord. And it's like, okay, I didn't even know they existed over there. I thought that was a Chicago outfit. I had no idea. I'm like, he's putting up Vice Lord? What the hell? Okay. What's this little kid watching on TV? That's what I was thinking. I was like, what is this little boy watching? Who's letting him watch some stuff like this? How does he even know who that is? but come to find out, Deborah says, yes, they did say that. Hey, Deborah, good to see you. Yeah, everything that has been a big tip, they check out right away, and they have got a lot of videos from them that shows us a lot of info. Yeah, and I mean, it's what's really weird about it is that I know they have more information than they're saying. Of course they do. They're just not wanting to share it with us. But at what point is it, going to ruin the investigation? You know? Yeah, Lori saw it too. Lori saw it too. You know? It's like it's really easy to see once you see it. It's a chokehold, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And it leaves a mark if you pressed in or, grab somebody that way. You can see the mark. Clear as day. I do want to, Deborah. I'm working on it. I'm going to be working on it with some other creators too. I'm trying to pull everybody in and get everybody's notes. Hopefully we could do like a panel with a bunch of us on. That's the whole goal. It really is. I didn't know that was a true story. Town Chat Cafe says, did y'all realize that the movie Walking Tall is based on a true story that happened in McCleary, Tennessee? I did not know that. It looks like a perfect thumb mark. It does, Rodney and Katrina. It does. It does. And the only reason you would do that to somebody is to stop them from breathing hello. And I'm not trying to be rude and blame anybody or, say that's what happened, but that's the only reason you would do that. This isn't The Simpsons, that's a cartoon, that's a joke. Everybody's, got angry enough, wanted to, whatever. But I mean, geez Louise, it's a damn cartoon. Little Miss Sharon says, Lady Freedom, unfortunately, parents who have no abilities to understand autistic children choose the essay way out, the easy way out of it with these children, and they have no understanding of trauma which they have caused, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree with that, Little Miss Sharon. I do agree with that. I think that, they would rather blame the kids than find out what they can do to help them. Mom ended up, I've talked to you about it because I've just witnessed how you are with your kids, and how much patience you have and how much, just love and care that you show them. And you understand that there's certain things that they're not going to be able to help, and that's what a mom does. They're understanding, right? Like, I mean, I told you guys I lost my mom in 2006, but she was always my biggest fan. She was always the one encouraging me and always, you know what I mean? And all of that. That's what moms do, right? We're the ones that nurture. And when we see moms that don't even, have that in them, it's very strange to us. It just is very strange to us. And even my daughter, she was so funny. She was always like a daddy's girl, but then like if she was sick, she would come loving up on me. And I'd be like, what's wrong with you? And I like check her forehead. Uh-oh, you're warm. Uh-oh, no wonder you're coming over here. But like that's when she needed me was when she wasn't feeling good, It's fun to pal around with dad and do that kind of stuff. But that was always how I knew. I was like, oh, something's going on. She's over here just all of a sudden giving me hugs for no reason. She's laying on me, and because they're lethargic and that sort of thing. But oh, cool. I didn't know that. Okay. Town Chat, I have to go watch that again. I do like The Rock, of course. He's very nice to look at. Scranton says, I am so ready for my week to be over. I'm on my 4th of 4 nights with this doctor that drives me Carnival Creek crazy. That's hilarious, Scranton. Oh my goodness. Well, you make sure you get some R&R. Oh my goodness. He's keeping you on your toes. Carla says, I love those movies. That's cool. I'm going to have to go back and watch that. I didn't realize that was a true story. I've seen it before. I know I've watched that movie before because, of course, The Rock's in it. Like I said, he's cute. Oh, yeah. Maman says, oh, poor Jayden. I can't believe I was so close to the vigil just to find out I was an hour behind as they changed it to East Coast. Yeah, I know that's so tough because part of Tennessee is, that part of upper Tennessee and then into Kentucky is eastern, right? I can't remember where it changed over when we drove through. See, that is really cool, Town Chat. Oh, yeah. SI officer says it's absolutely disgusting how they all, in my opinion, ambushed this child, a freaking child, and a bunch of adult bullies. They are disgusting. There's more I want to say, but I will save it. I know, SI officer. I feel that. I couldn't believe that when I saw that for the first time at the birthday party. I was like, you've got to be shitting me. On his birthday? Are you for real? What is wrong with you? Adults, adult bullies, I don't see what right they have to do that to a kid. I don't get what kind of enjoyment you can get. I would rather have an aha moment with somebody that's smarter than me, and I'll feel good about that than, trying to go after someone who isn't intelligent or who isn't, as equipped with experiences as me. That's a true bully right there that would sit there and pick on a kid. It's like, why don't you go pick on someone your own size? I'd like to see Aunt Melissa go down to, the local pub and see if she could call out the biggest bitch in there and see what happens. But no, she won't do that because she's a coward. She'd rather, pick on Sebastian. Aw. Little Miss Sharon, exactly. And Little Miss Sharon, you're another mom that, you'll share experiences in the chat and things like that. And it's just like, you understand that you have to meet your child where they're at, not the other way around. It's just like these moms that say, well, I want to have a baby so someone will love me. And it's like, do you realize that babies require way more love than they give out? But it's just a self-centered way of looking at things, Hey, Andrea. Aw, that's cute, Carla. That sounds like something I'd watch with my dad, too. Hey, Ice and Fire, good to see you. Yeah, there are so many things law enforcement have done or can do, and they are selectively, in my opinion, choosing not to for obvious reasons, that generational corruption BS. Yeah, I have to think that way as well, SI officer, even though I don't want to. Again, I would really like to be able to say, no, I can trust law enforcement 100%. I think they would never do anything, harmful to, Sebastian's case. I think they've done everything they can, but I can't say that. That's why I have my own stones to unturned. That's why I say, because we have Eric Craddock saying we will leave no stone left unturned. Well, there's a lot of them that haven't been, unturned, and I think they have to be you know, maybe collected and piled up, and then, re-examine those same spots, that you already uncovered. Because in my opinion, if you're not willing to use any, of the proper ways of investigating, like Nancy said, the carpet fiber, or excuse me, the piece of carpet, was any carpet removed from his bedroom? Well, it should have been, because there's a lot we can tell from carpet fibers. If somebody had made it into Sebastian's room, right, and took him in the middle of the night, something would have been left behind. It doesn't look like Katie allowed people to walk around her house in their shoes, in my opinion, because all of the shoes were by the door. That's how it is in my house. The shoes are by the door. Typically, I don't wear shoes in the house. I have, but typically I don't. And if they are, if I do wear shoes, it's house shoes, or slippers. So, because of course, there's sand and stuff like that. I don't want to get sand all over the floor and stuff like that. But if somebody came in, usually a kidnapper isn't going to take his shoes off. They're going to come in, they're going to grab the kids, they're going to leave. Again, the windows were not open. You can't relock the window from the outside. So that was always a huge red flag to me. It was always a huge red flag. I know, I do get so ramped up too over Sebastian's case, SI officer. I do too. In my opinion, Sebastian's case really stinks, and there's two reasons why. Feet and socks. I agree. Chuchi, I agree. Yeah. And I just call them the Foot Clan, because, they all work together. And there's a lot of them. And there's a lot of them that don't mind doing the dirt. They just don't. It's like normal for them. And even, the coworker that was alleged to be the coworker of Terry Bowersox, and he was spilling the beans about, about Terry, and about how he had relationships with police officers, and how he would go after Chris's exes for upsetting or breaking up with him or whatever. I mean, it just goes to show, Holly S. Holly S. I am part of the fall persuasion, if you will, because I do have the pumpkin spice going. So, and Nate's like, "Oh, don't open that one yet," and I'm like, "I'm gonna open this one because we have hazelnut." I'm not a huge fan of hazelnut. It's okay. I'll tell you what my favorite one is the Cinnabon coffee creamer. It's so good, guys. It is so good. So it just makes your coffee taste like Cinnabon. But Holly, I guess there's all kinds of fall decorations out, because I saw Kiki's post at Hobby Lobby, and then there's a few crafting channels that I'm subscribed to, and they were showing, their haul or whatever they got. So maybe we'll have to do a live on that. But I have so much fall stuff in my storage. Like, I don't even need. I can just show you the shit I pulled out of my storage. Maybe we'll do that instead, because, gosh, I have so much of that, and then Christmas decorations, because fall is my favorite. I don't know if maybe it's just because, I don't know. I was here at the end of fall last year when I moved here, so. Ice and Fire says, "I'm ready. I am so ready for pumpkin spice everything." Yes. I do. I love even cider and stuff like that. Not the cider beers. Those are, I don't like those. Those taste like a spoiled apple, in my opinion. But I mean just the regular hot apple cider. Oh, so good. Well, that's another great point. SI officer says they also could have checked the storage units nearby that Mrs. B supposedly has a unit. I have a picture saved of Mrs. B's from some storage that she had, that she was off of Instagram, I believe. And, I don't know. I don't know why I snapped a picture of it. I just was curious because that's kind of what alerted me that she had one to begin with. But I don't know where that one was. I really don't. When I found out that she was a real estate agent, I thought they need to be checking all her properties that she has listed on the market, that she has access to any of the properties of the homes. I know, Kiki, that's what made me think of it too. I was like, no, it's not time for fall yet. But then again, I'm over here with my pumpkin spice coffee. I'm like, oh, well, I'm drinking pumpkin spice early too. Because I was thinking, I was like, it's not September yet, is it? And I'm like, no, not yet. Thinking, okay. Mom says she can't wait for pumpkin spice either. That is so true, Holly S. I believe that too. All it takes is one person in power to care, in my opinion, she says. I just don't see how people can't care. Like when they look at Sebastian's picture and then they watch the interviews with the Proud Feet, I'm like, who could give a better contribution, to the world? I mean, it's not hard to figure out. Oh, everybody's so ready for fall, you guys. Hey, Miss Sarah C. I'm ready for fall also, she says. Everybody loves fall. Oh my goodness. Love Hobby Lobby. Lori says, I do too. I do too. And Michael's and the crafting part in Walmart and any place, Dollar Tree, any of those. One of my neighbors last night was telling me that I need to go to Dollar General. Or no, she said, yeah, not Dollar. She said, don't go to Dollar Tree here. Go to Dollar General. They have cuter stuff and more for $1. And I said, okay, I'll do that. Yeah, I love fall too, Kiki, but that was so funny. I saw that today and I was like, oh, we need to slow it down. It's still summertime. But then again, I was, you put everything out and then it's like you got to change over for Christmas, and then before you know it, Christmas is over. So I get why we do everything early. Oh my gosh, my Missouri mom, she is so funny. She'll be like, I already got Christmas done, and it'll be like March. And I'm like, are you serious? And here I am a week before Christmas, like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but it's so funny. No, I'm not that bad actually. But as my daughter's older, she's like, I just give her money. You know what I mean? Because she needs that more than anything. That way she could, do what she wants. But oh, you did? You lost your decorations in flooding, Maman? Oh yeah. Oh, flea markets that would be so fun. I wish that we could if you live closer, we would do that. I would love to do that for fall decorations. I haven't checked out. There's a thrift store like right up the street from me, and I haven't gone over there and looked. Holly S says, in my opinion, they could have done lip reading with that Texas Roadhouse video. If it were any president, they'd have it word for word in an hour. It sucks because, well, there's got to be more cameras, so I won't say that there's not an angle that catches Katie's face completely. Yeah. I don't know. And some people were like, do you think that the people that were sitting next to Katie could hear like what was going on? And I'm like, I don't think so. Because it was so loud. Like, I just think, I don't know. I haven't been to Texas Roadhouse in a minute, but like the last time I was there, it was loud and they were playing, and we were all out to eat, kind of like a Chili's or something like that, or kind of like a, what's that other chain? Applebee's, where they have like the, game on the screen, but they also have like the music going. Oh, little Miss Sharon, my sister won't do children true crime. Don't don't you think I let her know? But she does cases that keep me up to date. Yeah, it's hard. It's so hard with the kids. Like that's the hardest thing. Especially like when we think of like little Harmony Montgomery, little James Hutchinson, like they're so little and tiny, and it's so sad. And then when we hear about just even 10 years old, 15 years old, like, and then of course the older I get, I just think like 21 years old is a kid, 18's a kid. Like I don't know. Thank you for being here, Miss Sarah C. Yes, she says, I love Chris from the Mob Crew. He's so good. I'd like the data on the car as well, Kiki. Absolutely. Yeah, GPS. Yeah, exactly. She says that it had she had Life 360 on her, her phone app. So, I mean, I'd like to see if it stopped anywhere. It's pretty accurate. Yeah, Chris from Mob is great. Oh, good. Good, SA officer. I'm glad you're back. No, it's not the same guy as the guy in court. I don't think it is, little Miss Sharon. No, I kind of tried to, look at his facial features and stuff like that, and I couldn't get a match, in my opinion. But oh, thank you, Town Chat Cafe, for gifting a membership. If you got a membership from Town Chat Cafe, welcome to the Dragon Tribe. And make sure you say thank you to Town Chat. Thanks, Town Chat. I really appreciate you. Oh, that's great. I'm sorry it takes me a while to get to these guys because I like to read your comments. It's infuriating, lady. I conquer. Yes, or concur. Excuse me, concur. Well, actually, you slay. You do slay, Mom, you slay, so you conquer. I had it right the first time. SI officer says, in my opinion, they have the plate readers, and I think the family here is the question that the ties, the friendship, all ties in, and we're all continuously asking why, but we know why, and it's extremely frustrating. I agree with that. Yeah, it's extremely frustrating to all of us, because we want Sebastian to be found, because we're tired of the bull crap. We don't want to deal with it anymore. We would rather, not deal with the BS. I mean, even, that's why I went over on Jen's panel the other night, because I was like, she's sick of the BS. I'm sick of the BS. It's too much BS. And this is a kid who's missing, It's a kid who's missing. And then, I just cannot get it out of my head how, all of these stories are so much alike, Oh, congratulations, Ice and Fire. Welcome to the Dragon Tribe. Hey, that's perfect for Ice and Fire to have gotten that one. If you guys know that my obsession with Game of Thrones and, the Dragon Mom, the Dragon Mother of Dragons, sorry. Ronnie and Katrina say Trooper Gayheart is a big softie when it comes to children. I live in Hazard, Kentucky, where his police post is located. He's a real good guy. Ronnie and Katrina, I appreciate you being here, and also thank you for that, because I got a really good vibe off of him, and I know that sounds crazy, but I do try to kind of get a vibe off of people, and he did seem like just a giant teddy bear, like somebody that you would feel safe around. And that's a good, feeling when we're looking at a law enforcement officer. And he's got like this really deep voice, so he can be like intimidating. And I would say, that when I saw him on Nancy Grace, he looked like he was gonna burst into tears. She had him, I mean, what a sweetheart. And those are the people that I think that are the most powerful um, out there in law enforcement is the big burly guys with the deep voice. I wouldn't want him to interrogate me, but yeah, and he seemed very level headed and really wanted to find Jayden, really wanted to find him, and that makes me feel so good because I don't feel like that in Sebastian Rogers' case. I never got that vibe off of Craddock, guys, if I'm being honest. I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt. I, praised him for, really being swift with the response and looking fixed wing aircraft, drones, the whole 9 yards. I mean, they had the dogs, they had everything out there. I feel like where he dropped the ball is that he continued to operate off of that assumption that Sebastian walked off. And my hat's off to this officer for taking the public and the tips seriously, and then also, for whatever type of heat that he was able to put on these parents, because I'm sure there was a certain amount of that. Like I said, if that guy came and questioned me, I would be, on my best behavior. So, yeah, that's wonderful to hear. And I felt that too. Chuji says, my ex-husband strangled my son and I real quick called the police and pressed charges and divorced him. Bye-bye, POS. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the thing. We can't let somebody do that. It doesn't matter how much money they have. It doesn't matter how much power they have or what. I mean, our children, they need us to protect them. And I really wish they would have charged this Felicia Gross with being in a position of trust and hurting a child. But it's hard with this manslaughter, second-degree manslaughter, because, that's kind of saying that this was an accident. But when you're in a position of trust with a child and you break that, Lord have mercy on your soul. Because in my opinion, you're supposed to love him. And, in my opinion, she got a second chance. She got a second chance. Oh, that's so cool. That is so cool. Kiki says, I saw a sign tonight about Tilly's Aquarium has a new section named Dragons. I should have taken a picture. That is so cool. I love dragons. I think they're just so neat. Even though I know it's a mythical creature and all, but I like medieval, stories and stuff like that. Mom Ended Up says, yes, I can't believe it to the extent that it really is. I just pray and pray FBI, someone else, anyone, get this case, go find this boy. He's out there somewhere, Maman. He is out there somewhere. And that's my biggest thing. I think I've got it figured out somewhat of how this could have happened, right? Because that's part of the big mystery. Like, how did Sebastian get out of the house, right? What happened that night? And I kind of think that I might have a little bit of that puzzle solved, but it still remains like, where is he? Did they take him somewhere, or did they hurt him and put him somewhere, like with what happened with Jayden? And when I hear a story like Jayden's, it really makes me think that it's possible that if he did make it back to the house, that's what happened at 3 a.m. Either there was an accident, right? Like, maybe Katie snapped or something, I don't know. And that's another piece that I don't know. Was Sebastian still, with us when he left the house, being carried out? Because some people say, no, they don't think that he was. And some people think that he was, right? And then some people don't think that he made it home at all. So, Ice and Fire says, what makes me mad about the Jayden Spicer case is how Felicia admits to giving Jayden medicine to overdose him and then burying him and admitting to it and then to turn around and plead not guilty. Absolutely. That really bothered a lot of people. Yeah. Yeah. Because she confesses, right? And she shows them allegedly where she buried Jayden, you know? And then she turns around and says, but, wait, hold on a second, guys, Kentucky taxpayers, I'm going to plead not guilty. And, you guys are going to foot the bill for me to have a trial, which, I mean, she has every right to do it. Don't get me wrong. She has every right. And it does, they may offer her a deal at some point. But we'll see. Maybe they already did offer her a deal and cut it down to manslaughter, and maybe she decided to plead not guilty. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I know it does. It chaps my ass too, and I'm not even a taxpayer in Kentucky. Why put everybody through that? And also, there's probably going to be some very gruesome details that come out at the trial if she decides to go all the way like this. That whole family is pieces of... Yep, I agree. Oh, I will look, Kiki. Hold on. It's unbelievable, Holly S. It really is. Maman says they just fire and ice is ice and fire. It's disgusting that they would buy her time to build a case, and I can't even imagine as a parent if that were true, I wouldn't want to be, or I would want to be. Sorry, Maman. I bet you had more to write. It's just buying time to build her case, her defense, absolutely atrocious in my opinion also. Yeah, I agree. And like I said, I was a little surprised that she did plead not guilty. And as far as I know, she lawyered up by the end of the week. He was reported Wednesday morning, allegedly, and then she lawyered up by the end of the week. Yeah, not the least bit funny. It's repulsive. Yeah, Holly, yes. It's awful. It's awful. Yep, Lori says me too, Holly. Kiki says me too. SI officer says Holly asked me too, but even more so, that particular night breaks my heart and soul into 1 million pieces, just shattered. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it starts with when we see the Texas Roadhouse footage. And law enforcement did not want us to see that, guys. I just have to, brief reminder, law enforcement didn't want us to see that. They would have rather us not see that, because when we see that, we start to understand the dynamic more, Yes, plead to your child, KP, he says. Oh, absolutely. It's one of the many reasons I think we won't and can't stop advocating for him. And that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing. And what got me with Jayden is losing his grandma like he did, and then having to be put in the care of his mother, biological. No, that is so sad. That is just so sad. And he is going to be put to rest, though, guys. There's a priest at the church who is going to pay for him to have a beautiful casket made, right? Spider-Man themed casket. Um, it absolutely breaks my heart that we even have to have children's characters on a casket. You know, it should never happen. Yeah, we have to do more, Mom. And well, and I was saying too, well, and I'm going to get together with you on it too. But I was saying to everybody, I said, if you guys have any type of ideas about, a 2-year event for Sebastian, to write them to me, and just in the subject line put event, so that way I know, and I can star those ones and get them into a separate folder, and that way I could get them over, to the creators. And I want to collaborate with you guys on this, and see if we can't crowdsource and crowdfund for Sebastian's event, so we can make sure it's a really good one, because he deserves it. He absolutely deserves it. And so I would love to do that, and work with all of the creators, and all of the viewers, because I know that you guys have great ideas, and, if we put our heads together, we can definitely make it a beautiful time. And, even if everybody was to do $10, it just adds up so fast, but we need to get, all of the particulars, set up. So, hold on for a little bit until we get it kind of sorted out. But I believe that we could really get something great going. Um, you know, Tone Chat Cafe says, Lady Freedom, I'm actually hoping that Sebastian is safe in a private home on a farm with animals and being homeschooled and being taken care of. Yeah, me too, Town Chat. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of where my hope lies, that they just took him somewhere to a school. Um, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I would never dash somebody's hopes like that, um, because we need hope. Little Miss Sharon says we can only deal with what's going on. Okay, on now. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, I agree. Right now, one thing at a time. You know. Oh, Kiki says Tennessee juvie is bad. My husband and I used to go to juvies for church service and moved one in with us because he didn't have parents. Aw, my husband went to court with him, and he went to the army and came back. Oh, that's great, Kiki. Yeah, that's a great solution for these kids. It really is. Get them into something that they can, work hard and be proud of. You know? That's wonderful, Kiki. Linda Hall says Sebastian's Army. Yeah, guys, we could do it. I know we could, and I know it would be a great awareness. We want to bend the ears of some politicians when we do it. Is my understanding, and I'll tell you, I know that people don't like to get political. I certainly, it's not my favorite thing, right? I mean, some of it, yeah, but we have to, because that's who makes the decisions, right? And we have to let them know what we want, because the public officials are elected by us, So, and there's a little bit of changes that are going on within the government there in Tennessee. So I'm hoping for the best there. Kiki says we was going to do a children's home for kids that aged out 18 to 21, and the neighbors would not allow it in the area. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Kiki. I know that's a concern, but yeah, I understand the concern. But I think that sometimes people do need a leg up in the world. They need a handout. They need a hand to hold, and especially kids. And especially if they've never understood or known love before. I think that sometimes they can, really do well in an environment where they are loved. I mean, it's just like anything, It's just like anything. You got to water your plants or they're not going to grow. They're going to, they're going to wilt up and be sick. And it's the same thing with a person, and letting them know, look, you're worth it. You're worthy of something better than what you're doing. If you want to have a nice house and nice car and you want to be a baller, you got to do the right thing. Because they think, and they're, a lot of them think that they, are going to make all this money and, they're going to rap or they're going to do this or they're going to do that, and it's not reality. It's like, but what if you get, a good job where you do use your talents, but school is very important in my opinion. Without having training or schooling of any type, you're not going to get as far as you would if you did have that, And these kids, a lot of them are very intelligent, very intelligent. They just have kind of a distorted view on things, Like, oh, I'm going to do that. I'm going to be a TikTok star. Well, okay, be a TikTok star, but you might not make as much as, you're not going to have a family. You're not going to have that nice car, whatever. Some of them will. Some of them will do great at it. But I think it's more about making sure that they understand that they need to invest in their future. And school is the way to do that, in my opinion. Detroit Rock City says, and those marks are not from a tiny little dog. That's total BS. I agree, Detroit. I agree. Those were definitely defensive wounds, like as if Chris had, grabbed somebody from behind, Township says, Lady Freedom, I don't know if it's anything, but somebody posted on an anonymous post of looking for a place to rent, and I have to look again, but I came across something. Oh, okay. About a foster home place or something with animals, and I get delirious and sleepy being up all night, but I'm sure I can find it and hope I wrote it down. Yeah, no, it's okay. And see, that's the thing. I mean, I can't completely discount it. I really can't. Yeah, so Sebastian would not belong in a home like that, lady. I know, Kiki. That's what kills me. Because it's not like they were looking for, places to put him where he would be with people who were, having trouble with, social and emotional dysregulation, right? Because that's what Chris and Katie said, that he's autistic and he's ADHD. They didn't say he had a rare chromosome deletion. But that was his longest diagnosis. Sebastian was diagnosed with a chromosome deletion when he was little, when he was a baby. They knew there was a pocket of fluid on his brain. But we didn't hear about that until Seth told us. We didn't know about that. And as a matter of fact, let's play a throwback of Chris and what he had to say about Sebastian. Let's play this clown right here. Ass clown.
Very high functioning.
I mean, and that's why, like, I was trying to just put it out there. Is like, everybody has come up with this idea, and that's not the case. Mm-hmm. People wouldn't know Sebastian. Like, if we had never said he was autistic, people would not have a clue that Sebastian was autistic. They would thought something was wrong with him and not ever said autism.
Right. And you know what? If he...
Yeah. So, what a jerk. What a jerk. I think there's something wrong with a stepfather who can't accept his stepson the way that he is and love him for who he is. I think there's something wrong with that. Lola says, OMG, my dad and I watched Walking Tall tonight, the newer one with Dwayne The Rock Johnson. How weird is that? That's cool, Lolo. Good to see you. That is very cool. Yeah, I know. Now I gotta go watch it. I'm gonna be searching for that. Is it on Netflix or something? I got Netflix and Hulu over here. Oh, I got Prime too. I had the best mom in the world, Lolo says. I did too. That's why I can't believe it. Like, my mom would always be trying to put me in Girl Scouts and, tell me be a leader, not a follower. My mom always tried to, oh my gosh, my mom was so good too, Lolo. And I'm like, man, it's just crazy. It's crazy to think that, Holly S. I hate that so much, Holly S. when he does that. I just want to. That's what a real mother does, protects to any measure. I mean, we moved homes just so my son would be protected because he was being physically bullied in school. Would not protect him. Oh, perfectly imperfect boy, Mom. I'm so sorry. Oh, that makes you want to grab those little punks by the ear. Bad little kids. Jeez. And see, that's the thing, though. You wonder about these kids. They go home and they see their parents acting a fool on, the YouTube streets, and then you wonder why they're all bullying each other at school. Hey, Suzanne, it's sad. It really is. It's messed up. And then, it's like, well, no wonder they're acting crazy because that's what they see going on at home, or mom on the phone for 10 hours gossiping with her girlfriend about how, this one and that one and the other one. So it's ridiculous. And then, they go to school or they're just being bullied at home. They could be being bullied at home, then they go to school and bully somebody else, It's really, really sad. It's really, really sad. So heartbreaking, Detroit. Okay, guys, so I'm going to play this, and I'll switch over to our Bye Felicia background for this. Now, Bullhorn Betty had pulled in this news clip. So this is why I'm, confused, and you guys help me out, please, because I'm like, okay, so at some point, she's married to two Grosses? Or something is going on here, but I don't know because it says that there was a divorce filed and someone else named Tommy Gross, right? So we have Tommy and then we have, Josh Gross. So here we go.
Here is really why we're here, is this article right here. We've been hearing about the stepfather, and everybody's been wanting to know why the stepfather hasn't been charged. It's because who we've been told that the stepfather is, from my understanding, is not the stepfather. Who's the stepfather? Is his name Josh or is his name Tommy? Because we've been hearing a lot about Josh Gross, and we've been told that Josh Gross is the children's stepfather. Well, be prepared to be shocked.
Woman is charged with manslaughter, accused of killing her 10-year-old son, Jayden Spicer. But court records show this isn't her first run-in with the law.
Kylie Hill has been looking into Felicia Gross's past and uncovered a criminal history that spans a decade.
Felicia Gross's trouble with the law didn't start with this case. It goes back years. Most recently, she's been charged in the death of her 10-year-old son, Jayden Spicer. Police say Gross admitted to giving him sleeping medication, then burying his body in a wooded area of Breathitt County. But this isn't the first time she's been in trouble. Back in 2017, then known as Felicia Spicer, she was convicted of endangering the welfare of a minor from a 2015 case. She served a year behind bars. Part of her release included random drug tests and following plans set by Child Protective Services.
Thank you so much, Lisa B. Always, but we're getting through this. The bombshell is going to be closer to the end of this article.
Records also show that as far back as 2013, another woman, Shirley F. Johnson, filed for child support from Spicer. It's unclear if Jayden was included in that petition. The last child support case closed in 2020. Johnson died earlier this year, and that's presumably when Gross got custody of Jayden again. His obituary says Johnson lovingly raised him until her passing in May. Also in 2020, Gross was convicted of possession of marijuana, drug paraphernalia, and selling a firearm to a convicted felon. She was sentenced to another year in jail.
I feel like if she wasn't just sentenced to these 1 years in jail for these crimes, that she might have actually, could have possibly, been deterred a little bit more.
Court documents show she recently filed for divorce from her husband, who's been in jail since 2022 after a second-degree strangulation.
Did you guys hear that? She has filed... I'm gonna rewind it. She filed for divorce because her husband has been in jail since 2022. And if you look right up there, it says Tommy Daniel Lee Gross. So who the F is Josh Gross? That everybody's been saying is the stepfather. Yeah, she filed for divorce. It doesn't say a whole lot. I don't have the documents. But he either strangled her or strangled one of the kids. And he's been in jail ever since 2022. He's still in jail. Tommy Daniel Lee Gross. So I'm starting to think everybody's saying Josh is their stepdad, but he's actually the brother. Is she fooling around with the brother? Or was he just there helping her? And you gotta ask this day and age. You gotta ask this day and age. Did you guys hear that? We're gonna go back just a few moments. This is where my confusion lies. Because we've been talking, and I had to go back, and I'm like, wait a minute. I've been told the beginning, Josh Gross is the stepfather. So you can imagine my surprise when I'm reading a Tommy Daniel Lee Gross as the husband. You know, who's who? So let's go back and listen to this again. Open your ears because it's going to come up very quickly.
She was sentenced to another year in jail. Court documents show she recently filed for divorce from her husband, who's been in jail since 2022 after a second-degree strangulation conviction.
Second-degree strangulation conviction. So stepdaddy, he's in jail. So now the question asked is, how is she affording where these kids are living? Why didn't she have a vehicle, or excuse me, why didn't she have a phone to call law enforcement? Everybody was saying it's because her boyfriend or her husband didn't trust her with the phone. Well, her husband is in jail from a 2022 strangulation charge and conviction. So, what now?
I love that. Sorry, Betty's like, okay, so what now? And, you know, hey, Kitty Catty, good to see you. You know, it's funny. It's like, okay, here we are. We're thinking this guy is one guy, but this is weird because the rumor mill was going and it was like, you know, hey, they were married, you know, this guy's real controlling. We heard about how he allegedly wouldn't let her use the phone, or he was, you know, she had to go down to the neighbors because he didn't let her have her own phone and different things, right? And so this is kind of how the rumor mill works. And, you know, YouTube in general, we kind of allege these things, or we say, oh, we heard this here, or I might pull up a Facebook post and say, oh, look, this is what this person is saying, you know. So, but it's weird because, you know, obviously she's been with Josh for a while, but then you have Tommy, who obviously has been in jail since 2022, right? And she filed for a divorce from Tommy Gross. So it's just really strange, you know? And then we find out 2023 is when grandma tried to take her to court for child support for the kids, and they said they don't know if Jayden was in the mix of that or not. So again, not confirmed, but I know Holly S says, "Oh Jesus, and I was like, oh, thank God, Betty caught that, because I mean, of course I was thinking, Josh Gross is her husband, but then maybe he's not, but they have the same last name, but so did her other husband. So, and that was, confirmed by news outlets. So I'm assuming, they got it right. It is crazy. I'm like, so maybe she did in fact, get together with his brother or somebody. Isn't this weird, Lori? I'm like, I don't know what to think, but it's confusing and, it's convoluted. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Little Miss Sharon says a decade. CP has violence that follows him as well. Absolutely. Absolutely. Against little kids. He likes to pop them in the mouth, and they have braces, so they cut their lip. SI officer says that children just need positive reinforcement to know that their life, to know that their life and they are in control of their own destiny, and there's so much opportunity. Yes, and that they are loved. And that's the thing too. Like, I agree. That is so well said. I didn't say that as well as you did, SI officer, so thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant to pop that up. That's it, because especially if you think of a lot of these kids who maybe did grow up and, were meant to be, say their parents were, involved in gangs and stuff. And then a lot of those kids just are, automatically in that gang, and stuff like that. It can be very, very bad on these kids. And also when they're never told they're good, they're always told they're bad, you're hyper, you're this, whatever. And I agree with that. They have to know that they have control over their own destiny, and that, they're the world is their oyster at that point, especially when they're so young, and the biggest thing I think is to know that they're loved, to know that they're worthy. I agree with that. Yeah. Josh and Felicia have 2 boys, and I heard Josh and Tommy Gross is a cousin or something like that. Okay, thank you, Ice and Fire. So Josh and Felicia have the 2 boys, and I heard Josh and Tommy Gross are cousins. Okay, something like that. Yeah, I'm wondering. I mean, because I'd like to see a picture of Tommy just to see what he looks like. Because I was actually thinking maybe they're like twins or something, and then she decided to that he, I don't know, weird things happen, right? Or what does Betty say, that stranger than fiction? So twists and turns. Good to see you. What's your excuse, CP? Brain on the water. LOL. Yeah, I know, and that's it. I always knew there was something wrong with Chris Proudfoot. I never once thought there was anything wrong with Sebastian. I think he'd probably be so delightful to be around, because he's funny and cute, and he just he's a sweet kid. You could just tell. She's keeping it in the family, Lori. It looks that way, doesn't it? It's so odd. I'm like, just when we didn't, I was not expecting this this twist and turn here, But who are these people, Carla says maybe she adopted him, so her name. Yeah, so he has her name. Yeah, I know. It's so weird, right? It's so weird. I don't know. Because I've never thought I don't know, like when I was married, I would never, date one of my brother-in-laws. That's weird. And I have a bunch. Holly S says, I can't forget what CP said about SA fat babies. Oh, I know. Oh, Holly S, when he said that, I was like, this guy's Chomo vibes. Hardcore. Who says that about a baby's privacies? You know what I mean? Like, that's gross. That is, and then if that's not bad enough, he thought it was like, I don't know. He was very proud of himself. What the actual is right. Yeah. 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 I had to do a double take. I was like, really? He really said that? Like, I don't know. If you're trying to, get a better public perception of you, I wouldn't do that. Dang world going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. It's in the water, or is it just me? That's funny. Our show Poodles always says that. I don't drink the water here. I don't drink the water. I don't know. I mean, it's just like even when I was watching Nancy Grace and they had that one guy on, you know, he's like, there's no shortage of crimes in, Florida. And I'm like, it's really everywhere. It's just everywhere. People are going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And I don't know. Yeah, it sounds super fishy. Absolutely, Holly S. She says, I wonder if the guy in prison knew about the living situation. I don't know. I don't know. And it's hard because, and then you also have Jayden's bio dad, right? So we don't even know really a lot about him except for that he's got some pretty heinous charges himself. Like anybody that, does that with an animal is really disgusting in my opinion. I mean, come on. There's dating sites. Get on one. But they're demented. And actually, there was an expert that came on and talked about the lady here that was caught doing that with her dog. And, they were just talking about how they're just absolutely sick, and those weird proclivities are just, the icing on the cake, really. Ice and Fire says, what in the Sweet Home Alabama is going on with Felicia and Josh and Tommy? I know. Oh, Ice and Fire, well said. Yeah, I don't know. It's so weird, right? Like, okay, so, and then also, I just want to throw it out there, admitted to giving him sleeping medication. So she admitted, allegedly, that she gave him the sleeping medication. But again, what medication was it? Was it over-the-counter melatonin? Was it her medication? Was it Josh's medication? Was it one of the other kids' medications? What exactly was that? And then, of course, she talks about there's a medical emergency. Well, what in the world? So why didn't you call 911 when the medical emergency occurred? Mom and It Up says, Holly, I know. I was just thinking about that. I kept getting suggestions for the baby AI things, some circulating, discuss adult. Oh no, all types of things. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's almost like, I mean, I have a really close friend that won't even put her baby, like she'll always cover his face up and stuff, like even on Facebook. And it's like, I don't blame her. I'm like, actually, you're a really good mom for doing that because people are weird. It's so sick. It's so sick. And you just don't know what people are thinking. I heard that Felicia doesn't know who Jayden's bio dad was. Oh, okay. Ice and Fire. See, that's interesting. But I thought I was under the impression that all of the girls I was under the impression that she had, 2 baby daddy and had 3 babies with each. But then I don't think that's true now. I don't know. Little Miss Sharon says, exactly, you cannot cover up Sebastian's level 1 autism, but KP and CP are paddling hard to cover their mental disability. Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, because I think Katie is histrionic. I think that she is a diabolical type of a person. I do. And I think it's, trauma related, but I do. I could see her even, displaying some narcissistic characteristics as well. She's definitely on the dark triad, in my opinion. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not trying to, have to be pharmaceutical, in my opinion. Rodney and Katrina, I agree that it was probably something more heavy duty, although we did look it up and you can OD on melatonin. But yeah, with that being said, I honestly wonder if it wasn't an adult dose, and maybe that's why they're saying it was an accident. Like maybe she's saying that she only gave him 1 and that caused the medical emergency. But I think that we're going to definitely find out when the autopsy and the tox come back, right away. 911, right, Lori? Like, I don't know. It's been so, like, I don't know. I just remember being in school and McGruff, the crime dog, came in and told us about, like call 911, and they teach you stop, drop, and roll, and they teach you, all these things. And you just think it would be second nature. So I always side eye when somebody doesn't call 911. Same with Katie and Chris, Thank you, little Miss Sharon. SI officer says, does anyone else feel like all of a sudden the statement that came across the phone one time where KP was stating she can talk for herself and her husband does not abuse her was a recording? Too odd. I don't know. She said that before. She has said that before. And he's said stuff about it too. Because like when she was on Queen Bee, he was like, see, she talks. She doesn't talk often, but she talks. And I'm like, well, she's not a dog, Chris. She's a friggin' human being. She's a grown-ass woman. Who are you kidding? I mean, come on. And I get it. If you're abused, you're going to be more soft-spoken. You're going to be a little bit less, I mean, I've been there. But then once you get out of that situation and you overcome it, that you become a pretty tough broad after that, and you're like, no, I'm not taking shit from anybody. It's just kind of comes with the territory. And we've talked about it here too. Sometimes we have trouble finding, I know I did, finding out how to be assertive rather than just going 0 to, bitch in 60 seconds. You're just like, boom, you're right there. There is no, beating around the bush. And so you almost have to, be aware of that, because I know I did. And people will be like, gosh, you're blunt, geez. And I'm like, I'm sorry, like, this is just, I used to hide things. I used to lie. I used to say, no, I did this to myself, I mean, after a while you get tough. Ice and Fire says, Josh is the father of the 2 boys, and who is the father of Jayden and his 2 sisters? Yeah, and then, but don't they have 3 boys? I thought they had 3. Fire and Ice for some reason. But I know in the paperwork it said that she was, making probably the 2, coaching them. I shouldn't say she was making them say it. She coached them, to lie. And that's where she got, tampering, I think. I think she should have got tampering with evidence and tampering with a witness, but I don't know. That may fall under the same charge, in Kentucky, so I don't know. She just abruptly all of a sudden came on the phone and stated that, which made me believe it was a recording, and he was acting into it. Oh, in my opinion. Okay, SI officer, that's interesting. I'll have to, if you can, send me that recording, or that piece, and I'll listen. I'll play it for us. Not tonight because I'll have to prepare it, but yeah. And I am gonna get a laptop soon, guys, too, so we could play stuff that you guys send me. As long as it doesn't have like music and stuff, we have to be careful with copyright, but. I see Rodney and Katrina says, I just don't see Felicia buying melatonin, is why I say pharmaceutical, which I can see her having. Yeah, well, she could have gotten anything off the street, and that's the thing. Like, what if she thought that she was giving him a sleeping pill, but she got off the street and it was laced with fent? I mean, that's the thing that we have to worry about with these cases, because, some of these, street drugs that come up, are laced with something lethal, really. I keep thinking one day KP is going to confess out of the blue. I hope so, Holly S. And that's when I pray for Katie. I pray for Katie. I pray for clarity. I pray that she gets away from Chris, and I pray that she snaps out of it and tells the truth for Sebastian, so he can, be found. That is, all the time. Oh, definitely. You know? In my opinion, I believe she tolerates it because she has no one else to turn to. He controls too much, and it's better living conditions than where she comes from in her eyes. I agree with that, SA officer. Yeah. I think she doesn't want to be alone either. There's a level of codependency that I see in Katie. Because you should be able to get up there and you should be able to tell your story of what happened when you were the only one there. If that's what you're alleging and we're to believe that, then you should be telling the story. You shouldn't look to Chris for any kind of confirmation or validation if he wasn't there. And I think that's what I think that's what leads people to believe that he may have been there just because of that. You know? So, Holly says SA officer 100. Yeah. It's just what we can surmise, you know? I wonder, Carla, about it. I don't know. But see, it's, you know, it's not even just like the physical, it's the psychological. It's the playing off of her generational trauma. I don't know that it's a physical abuse. It could be. But I think it's more psychological and mental. It's him or me kind of a thing, you know? And I think maybe, you know, Katie hides behind that a bit. I see what you're saying, Carla. I do. You know? Says, oh, believe me. Oh, believe me, he was there. Believe me, Lori. I believe he was there. Yeah. I mean, it's hard not to believe that, especially when he's always, you know, she looks over it to him for validation. She shouldn't in that regard. And there's only a couple of reasons why she would do that. Either she's scared of what she may say, or, you know, she's looking to him because he was there. I know. I love Chris from the Mob Cruise content, Scranton. I do. He's really good. He noticed that earbud. Ronnie and Katrina says, I thought of that too, but there may not be any kind of sleep meds. Like she said, it may be abuse that unalived him, and a pew-pew was buried near the home. Sus. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you know, the autopsy will determine all of that. And I would imagine that they would be able to determine that if he was, you know, shot of any type, you know, any way, you know, whether it happened before or after he passed, because, you know, she does have abuse of a corpse, and we do know that it's been alleged that she did break his legs, which makes me want to break hers. I'll just be honest, and I know that sounds horrible, but it just does, you know? It just does make me want to do that to her, because how could she? You know? I think that if a relationship with someone else stirred up, she would move on. However, with the way this family is, I don't think she has that option. Yeah, that choice, in my opinion, of course. Yeah, of course. You know, Town Chat, I agree, or excuse me, SA officer, I agree. I agree with that. And, you know, I do think that it's to the point where she doesn't feel like she has anybody else, you know. Yeah, it would make it more difficult, right? Because isolation is the reason why people stick around for that crap, you know, or they don't think they can do better. Okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and play this next clip that I have.
So anyways, what I did when I heard this and I read that, I'm like, wait a minute, I've been listening to Josh. Everybody's been talking about Josh Gross being the step-parent. You know, we're all wondering why Josh isn't in jail with his wife. You know, we've been asking all these questions. It's because the stepfather's name is Tommy Daniel Lee Gross, and he is in jail. And she's filing for divorce from him. So who's staying with her at the trailer? Was she the only one? Is she the only adult at the trailer? Does she work? Where are the kids going? How is she supporting her lifestyle? What is she doing inside that home that nobody knows about? But so that we're all clear, Josh is not the husband. Josh playing house with Felicia. Yeah, maybe Lisa B. always. Maybe. The story keeps getting straight. Yes! Yes! Let's keep listening.
In the case of her son, Gross has been charged with second-degree manslaughter, falsely reporting an incident, tampering with physical evidence, abuse of a corpse, and tampering with a witness. She was lodged in the Kentucky River Regional Jail.
So we already know that. So I ended up going back and forth and, trying to find where, the statement came from, because I'm like, I know Josh is in here somewhere. And I think it is it here? One of these. Nope, not this one. Not that one. This one. Find. Nope, not in that one. Let's see if it's in this one. I brought it, found it. Josh. One of my articles has Josh in it. I don't know why it's not pulling up. There it is. There it is. Oh, no, that's Josh Turner. This must be a different one. Which one's this one about? The federal agents. No, that's not it. That's probably why that pulled in. But I went back to these, and I don't know. There it is. It is on this one, right here. Right there. Jayden Spicer was reported missing by Felicia and Josh Gross on August 6th. Officials combed the area near his home on Pan Bull Ranch Road. And if you guys remember, we had, could you guys see that? Am I heading away? Why is it not? Ah, that's why. Is that why? Huh, I don't know why it's not showing me through the stuff. But either way, what is going on here is that we have a man by the name of Josh Gross. I have to assume he's related to Tommy Daniel Lee Gross. Okay? Felicia Gross, Josh Gross. Maybe that's why they just assumed that it was the stepfather. So my question is, was Josh there at the time? If his brother wasn't, maybe he was in the home. Does he know more than he's saying? Or did she call him in a panic? And say, hey, my son's missing. I need you to come over and help me. But we had those YouTubers. They're from a historical, I don't know, they're older. You can tell by their voice. I haven't seen their faces, but you can tell by the voice. And they went there and they were hollering to a guy that was outside, and they said they believed Felicia was out there with him or with them. And they recorded and basically said, we're just out here searching. I'm hoping that you guys won't mind. And they said no. But there was a man out there with her. So clearly it's not Tommy. It's not the stepfather. Is he an uncle? Or is he the just add dad type of brother? My brother's in jail. Might as well play a house until it, hold the fort down until my brother gets out. And as disgusting as that sounds, I get it. But truth is stranger than fiction. I don't know what else to say. Yeah, Fred and Sheila McCoy. That's it, Lisa B. Always. That's the name. Hatfields and McCoys. Somebody else definitely helped her, in my opinion. It's possible. And seeing his brother in jail, and seeing her and knowing that she's not doing well. Everybody said she hadn't been in trouble in a decade. Well, that was a big fat lie, because I'm sorry, 2020 was only 5 years ago, not a decade ago. And the great-grandmother has had this child since, it appears, since this child was just about born, because they had paperwork going back to 2015, 2016, somewhere around there. When was it? 2016? Did she put the welfare of her child at risk? those charges. I can't remember when they said those were. We'll go back and cover this. Anyways, this wasn't meant to be a very long live. Share this around because this is critical information. Everybody's calling Josh the stepfather. He is not the stepfather. We have confirmed information here. We're showing the divorce petition with Felicia's name and Tommy Daniel Lee Gross. They're getting a divorce. So who's Josh? Josh is not the stepfather. He might be the uncle, or he might be just somebody coincidentally with the same last name that she's now moved into her house. Or it could be his brother, cousin, or God knows who else that she's decided to shack up with.
Yeah, so I think she is shacking up, guys. That's what I'm thinking. And I'm guessing it's a family member. So, but I'm wondering why not the M charges, like Carla said. And then also, why isn't Josh in jail? If they reported, Jayden missing by Felicia and Josh Wednesday morning, right? And they were saying, yeah, we all went to bed at 9:00 and then poof, he's gone, same old song and dance, my friends. They're all gross, says Detroit. And Lori says 100, 100. Oh my goodness, it's all so sick. It's just not right, I wish we had, more answers too. And I'm sure more things are going to unfold in the trial, and I don't know. I don't know. I, in my opinion, think that she deserves murder charges over manslaughter. And, reason being, she knowingly gave him, medication and then obviously knew he had a medical emergency. And in my opinion, if she didn't call 911, I don't know. But then again, we're going to find out more in the talks, report and all of that. Hey, Seclusion, I'm glad you're here. Oh, I hope you feel better soon, hon. Yeah, that's actually a good point. Rodney and Katrina says, I'm anxious to hear whose property it actually is. Were they renting? Was it Felicia's, Josh's, or Tommy's? Yeah, because, I'm glad you said that. And Bullhorn Betty kind of brought that up too. Like, is it her, trailer and she's allowing for this guy to stay with her? But then again, they have these kids together, and, maybe this happened. And sometimes justice takes a while. So maybe he, the first Tommy was charged and, then he was convicted and then he went off to jail or prison rather. And, then she met this guy, or maybe they knew each other because they were, family. But either way, that would be kind of really gross if she has one kid by the cousin and then two by the other cousin. Just, speculation, purely speculative. I bet the guy in jail is happy he's not involved in this. I mean, Holly, yes, you got it. You got it, girl. Aw. Well, I hope it doesn't last long, Seclusion. Lori says, right, Holly? I mean, but it is an odd situation, and I thought that was a really good catch by Bullhorn Betty. I'm like, that's interesting, and then I was like, okay, did we get it wrong, or do we know? And then, of course, I texted Mom, and I'm like, okay, what should we do about this? I don't know, is this wrong, or, but I mean, I just kind of wanted to see what you guys thought, and, of course, like I said, the rumor mill is, going to go how it goes, but I will say that the rumors were true this time. And sometimes we hear they're completely, off or whatever. And, but this time it seems like people are pretty spot on with things. And so we'll just have to wait and see, especially when it comes to toxicology and the autopsy report, of course. And then the trial, we'll definitely cover the trial, and I'll have my laptop by then. So we'll be able to really cover it. Now, I don't know if they will show it or, what. So, a flash thunderstorm where you're at, Detroit? Oh, my goodness. Oh, be careful. We'll see. They were talking about that hurricane, but it hasn't come through. That's why I was like, well, I want to go have some fun in the sun, before it does, if it does. But yeah, guys, definitely email me with any ideas you guys might have about the event for Sebastian. And then, of course, I will keep my eyes peeled for that. I'm also going to work on trying to get some playlists together. So tomorrow, that way we can kind of put it by case, and that sort of thing. And that way it's easier to find videos. I'll probably do like a Sebastian Rogers playlist, and then, Jayden Spicer playlist. I know that I've done lives on, just a lot of the other kids, little Josh McCoy. We've covered a lot of cases. And then next week, of course, I'm going to try to get back into the groove of doing the day lives and the night lives. So we'll definitely be filling up time with that. I just didn't anticipate, for us to find Jayden, like we did, and the news story just kind of blew up. So that's true, Carla. The autopsy should show if it was meds or something else. It will also give them an idea when legs were broken. Exactly. And it's also going to tell us more about when this all happened, because she's saying it happened Tuesday into Wednesday, then they reported him missing around 9:30 a.m. on Wednesday. But that could be false. This could have happened, the last time the aunts said that they spoke with Jayden or tried to was July 3rd. So it could have happened closer to that time as well. But it still remains to be seen. Yes, I won't forget my sunscreen, Lori. Thank you. I got it sitting out. That's why I got to hop off, because I got to, get everything ready, snacks and sandwiches and all that good stuff. But I'm going to take some video. They said it's from the Hurricane Detroit. Oh my goodness. Oh geez. So it passed us and now it's going out to Detroit. My goodness. But yeah, because last time we were going to go to the beach, it was like rainy that day, and I was like, dang it. But it should be fun. It should be fun, and I'll take some videos for you guys. It's just always so pretty. I really like the ocean. It's neat. Although I found my lake life shirt, and it says lake life because beaches be salty. And I was folding my clothes today and I found it and I'm like, that's too funny. So I'm gonna have to get a fun shirt that says, ocean life or salt. I think it's salt life. Thank you, little Miss Sharon. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. I love you guys all so much. And like I said, I'm gonna get that together, and then we'll be working on. I'm gonna still show some things from the lights video. I'm just being more selective of what I'm showing. But I also have a cleaned up copy from Nisi Marie that I'm going to show you guys next week. So we'll just go for that. But you guys have a wonderful Sunday, and I will see you on Monday afternoon. Thank you all so much.